Hello. Uh, Welcome anybody who's here to an attempt at a live stream. Something I have not really attempted before, but why not? I suppose it would help for a start. So the sound you've already been hearing has been the title soundtrack to the game. But yeah, welcome. Thank you for coming, anybody who's around. And I'll get us properly started as soon as I can find the tab with the chat in it once again. Okay, so I guess I'll go ahead and kick things off, and who knows? We'll see what happens. So yeah, that's the opening play, which happens before you actually choose your character. You are right now the secret fourth character, which is to say, you yourself. And once you go through this door, it brings you right back into the menu. At first, you can't play as the changeling, Clara, the girl. You have to play as one of the other two first, but the Bachelor of Medicine, Daniel Dankovsky, is sort of the default experience. And let me know if the volume needs to be adjusted, by the way, because the music is because the music is important and great, but also I want you to be able to hear. um, yeah, so the Bachelor is a man of science, and the history of humanity witnessed a number of catastrophes that have demonstrated without a shadow of a doubt the pettiness of human achievement and the triumph of invincible evil. Outbreaks of infectious diseases that have from time to time wiped towns and cities off the map are undoubtedly among these. However smart and virtuous, the people caught up in these destructive events have repeatedly come to the conclusion that it's no use trying to fight these circumstances. The best you can do is bite the bullet and cope with your losses. This is the story of a person who has managed to work a miracle and defeat a seemingly unvanquishable foe. And I will turn up the game audio as requested. Just a moment. And did that make any difference? And also, can you hear me over it at this point? Because this is, I think, the loudest song in the soundtrack, so that also makes a difference. Loudest song in the soundtrack, and also what comes up literally every time you open up the game menu. So yeah, just let me know about that.
Daniil Dankovsky, a Bachelor of Medicine, was brought here by circumstances most unfortunate. Dankovsky's life work, his theory challenging the existing notions of human mortality, is being harshly persecuted by the powers that be. Suddenly, a letter arrives from a colleague suggesting that there is previous undiscovered evidence which may support Dankovsky's claims. There is a settlement, the letter says, ruled by an extraordinary man who may well be seen as objective proof of Dankovsky's daring hypothesis. Grasping at straws of hope, Dankovsky decides to follow what he believes to be the sign of divine providence. Without further ado, he sets off for the settlement. Late at night, Bachelor arrives in the town. As he seeks room and board, he gets to know a girl called Eva Yan and stays at her place till dawn.
I'm still not sure what Victor here waking up has to do with much of anything, but I suppose it's just to introduce you to the rulers of the town. Almost through the various introductory stuff. And alright, we're actually past the introductions and in. So, yeah, the way the quest log works in this is kind of interesting because each character has an overall mission that is just their long-term goals. So Daniel's is, as of today, my mission remains obscure. The examination of Simon Kane, who is rumored to be a man of incredible longevity, may shake the very foundation of modern thanatology and challenge the existent notions of death itself. However, even if this undying Leviathan proves to be more than a fairy tale, the mere confirmation of his existence won't suffice to prevent the powers that be from shutting our laboratory down. I need to figure out the most fruitful approach. Simon is a well-respected man, and if he mistakes my interest for effrontery, it would be nigh impossible to convince him to help me break new ground in the field of human vitality. And then, he doesn't have any particular quests or tasks for the day just yet, but, day 1, by the end of which the Bachelor finds himself battling a truly unvanquishable foe. And I believe I've already... yeah, when this little symbol appears, it means you've received a letter. The game doesn't tell you this anywhere. You just have to know to press L now and then to check your letters. And, it's strange how much you just get bombarded with at the start, but they're, I guess, just trying to get you used to everything being weird. So this is a message from Isidore Burach, the local doctor. My dear Bachelor Dankovsky, it was most disconcerting to learn that the powers that be have the intention of shutting down the laboratory that owes its fame largely to your own research in the field of thanatology. Is it true that your detractors have branded your studies scientifically stillborn? Rejoice, Bachelor, for there is an observable case that would quell the obscurants that reject the research of death, aging, and necrosis as a subject that lacks academic viability. This case, were you to document it, would go a long way towards restoring your reputation as a scholar. The subject in question is Simon Kane, who has ruled the town where I live for as long as I can remember. This man's longevity transcends the boundaries of what is plausible. It is phenomenal, no less, and I struggle to give an explanation for it with what scientific means I have at my disposal. Make no delay. There is a sensational discovery to be made here, a breakthrough that will not only save your laboratory, but also revivify your studies and greatly increase your scientific renown. Your humble servant and faithful colleague, Isidore Burach. P.S. I spoke to Simon on your behalf, and he has kindly agreed to facilitate your effort. Daring ideas and far-fetched projects are traditionally very well respected in our neck of the woods. So, yeah, sometimes the letters are just background information, which of course is important to understanding the overall story, which is always obscured. But sometimes they're also linked in with a quest, or sometimes they're how you know how to even do a quest, or that you need to talk to somebody that day. So yeah, Daniel here has set up his lab in the loft of his host, Eva Jan, who is waiting downstairs. And yeah, the graphics are pretty dated, even with the HD update, but I think it's charming, personally. It kind of has a Morrowind-y vibe, which is something that I like. And in most of the houses of the Bound, the important characters in Pathologic 1, you actually can't search most of their containers, but that one upstairs is Daniel's, and can be used for storing stuff, because this is how much storage space you have for each type of thing, excuse me. And, yeah, I forgot that he starts with lantern oil. Okay, so this is Eva.
I had a feeling you would come.
Time mercifully stops when you're talking to somebody. It doesn't stop in the inventory in this one, though it does stop in other menus. Did the sounds from the outside wake you up too? There was a terrible groan, and then something snapped loudly. Oh, and also, I absolutely love that if you click on a character's portrait, you get other people in town's take on them. And, of course, when you're first playing, it won't necessarily mean much to you, but once you get to know the characters, it's interesting to see their various takes. So, with Eva, you get Peter Stamatin, the architect's take on her, and Victor Kane, one of the sinister Kane family's take on her. Or, excuse me, one of the eminently reasonable Kane family's take on her. So Peter says, she came to love my creation when it was but a sketch. People are often astonished by it, but rarely is it met with love. Even the children merely tolerate it. Loving an edifice like this demands vivid and outstanding imagination. And Victor's is, Eva possesses some virtues that my daughter, unfortunately, does not. She's gentle, she's trustworthy. She wouldn't ever stoop to betrayal. She could be the soul of a focus, were she not enamored of death so bizarrely and persistently. But yeah, I just find that fun and interesting, and the soul of a focus thing will come more into focus later on. For now, don't worry about it, it's fine. Everything's fine. But yeah, so something snapped loudly outside. I fell asleep so quickly I didn't even notice. It's like I fainted, so what sounds are you talking about? I think there are strangers in the backyard, by the pond. They're unlikely to be planning mischief, but I have a bad feeling about this. I'm afraid to go out to them. I hope they go away soon and stop disturbing our sleep. And, the choices can lock you out of stuff, by the way. You can't just go back to every dialogue tree. Some you can, but, so, you know, you can just politely change the subject in this case. But, why do you think they aren't planning anything foul? Our population is so thin. Crime is basically non-existent, especially here in the Stone Yard, that is, the rich quarter. Sometimes there are pranks, of course. Fights happen occasionally. People are young here, so they often go out at night. But we're a tight community. And now I hear unfamiliar speech. That's not a good sound. I'll go out and take a look, but I'm in a hurry. I must see this founding father of yours. Are you willing to trade the company of a fascinated woman for that of a dreadful old man? Even if he is a sorcerer? That's so sad. But Simon won't go anywhere. He has always been, he always will be. Even if the moon were to fall to the ground, please, stay with me a little longer. And, yeah, so far, not a lot of, variation in the options, but I think he's gonna take her up on him being a sorcerer this time. Simon is a sorcerer, did I hear you right? Is that the secret to his longevity? Are you in that much of a hurry? Do come round, the Canes are asleep now. Take your knockabout coat off, have a rest in my bed. Let me warm your hands. You're so anxious to see Simon, as though your life depended on it. My life, yes. Now that my laboratory is on the brink of destruction, my whole life's pursuit depends on that remarkable man. If he really has managed to live that long, then his tissues will help me defeat death. Death. So that's the enemy you've chosen for yourself. Isn't it hard? I don't think anyone has managed to defeat that evil yet. So you can either be a condescending jerk, which is pretty on brand for Daniel, as we'll come to learn, or not. So, you know, you can say, oh, millions of doctors defeated on certain singular occasions, but my enemy is more fearsome. It is death itself, rather than a singular case of death. Or, my enemy is inevitability. I'm challenging the forces of nature, which honestly I feel is, both of them are pretty in line with Daniel in general, so, I don't understand. So you can either just tell her to show you where Simon lives, or I can barely understand it myself. Could death only seem inevitable to us, but in reality be nothing more than a whim of the will that had shaped this world? That is the question. So where is the key to my victory? It's not far. The Canes live at the Crucible, on the bridge square, but could I please offer you a piece of advice? And you can just say, I need no advice, but I'm gonna say, go on. Simon has 2 younger brothers. The eldest of the 2, Georgi, is called the Judge by the locals. Visit him first. He isn't asleep. He'll teach you how to speak with Simon. The youngest of the 3 is Victor. His daughter, Maria, also wanted to see you. It's probably important. Was it she who knew about my arrival beforehand? Yes, she told me about it privately. Talking to her is no simple task. Maria is that kind of person. She puts on airs, but that's just how the Canes are. It was Maria who told me that she would help you defeat death. That's the precise wording. What a coincidence. Alright, thank you for the advice. Go, and I'll prepare everything for your return. Do come back after you speak to the Canes. They will probably do a lot of things that will puzzle you and put you on guard. I will have some advice that may be of help to you, if you need it. Okay, I'll come back. So, this is your first view of the map. It's a... one city is the entire setting for the game. This is what fans tend to call the town on Gorkon, though it's never given an official name. This is the Gorkon River here. This is the abattoir, the key industrial area. And don't worry about the polyhedron. It's probably fine. Everything is fine. So, also, you can talk to just about everybody more than once.
I think my colors have faded.
And they often have, like many old-fashioned games, they often have like a speech pattern, just generic pattern lines that they say when you talk to them that don't necessarily have anything to do with anything, though sometimes they can be interesting. That ominous singing outside the window is gnawing at me. Who could be singing at a time like this? Very little time has passed, but I feel hungry and exhausted again. And this is where you get an explanation of the survival mechanics, or one of the places. Since you've decided to fight death, you will have to be very careful. It's September. You'll be dying with every breath of our air. And you can definitely... So, basically, whenever you're not playing as one of the healers, you can assume that the other healers are making the worst possible decisions in every conversation. And, yeah, I agree. Very little time has passed, but I feel hungry and exhausted again is, like, that is my life. But yeah, so Danielle can say, we're all dying with every second of our life. It's exactly this annoying phenomenon that I have challenged. But since you've heard of Thanatica's achievements, I'm not going to waste your time monologuing. Or, be a little more sarcastic. What am I supposed to do? Not breathe your air? Should I have stocked up on the air from the capital? Or just be direct. Just ask, what does September have to do with it? This steppe is full of various herbs. They fill the air with dizzying vapors. White-whipped, twire, and swevery are dangerous in August and September, when herbs surrender their juices to the sun. People tend to get headaches this time of year. Heart sufferers lie in bed with pains. My heart aches too. How do you people live here? Twire is a rare herb, so usually it's bearable. But this year it's unbelievably plentiful. The elderly say that this is phenomenal. Nothing like it has happened before. They say it's a bad omen. Well, I don't believe that, but the air is droning. Can't you feel it? Don't you feel dizzy? Yes, the air is heavy. You need to sleep often. Never go hungry. Drink more water. You need to look after yourself properly. If you feel sick, forget everything else and get some rest. Otherwise, you may die of a heart attack or bleeding. Be careful, alright? Both my heart and my mind are strong enough, or the more I think and do, the faster I die. That's symbolism, if ever I saw it. I forget if she has anything else to say right now.
We sometimes differ more widely from ourselves than we do from others.
I think that we sometimes differ from ourselves more widely than we do from others is one of the many, many quotes of Francois Duc de Rochefoucauld that appear in this game. It's a recurring theme. So I'll take a look when I go outside. And I'm just gonna save real quick and head on out. Now, these aren't the weirdos she was talking about, but for the heck of it, I'm going to talk to them anyway. Hi, Executor. So, generic characters, such as these players here, will, just, not have any additional information about them, generally. Halt! I'm going to have to teach you about the technicalities of the setting, the time and the place. It's non-essential, but that's just how it is. The actor has to be prepared before he goes on stage, or else he'll fall down the aisle or stumble upon the prompt box. That would look mighty silly, don't you agree? I'm just gonna... You're going to have to teach me? Aren't you forgetting your manners? My manners? There are different manners of life and thought, none of them mine. If everything goes awry, you'll get a chance to witness each of them. That is something you should probably try to avoid. As for now, please forgive my rudeness. I'm in a special position here, and so I have the right to be blunt sometimes. And who are you? An actor in a tragic mime show. That's unimportant. Will you listen to me or not? I'm listening. Time flies by and can't be stopped or turned back. Nights follow days, which are then followed by nights. Things happen without any regard for whether you're there to witness them. Don't expect anyone to wait for you. Most events can be missed. And so it would make sense for you to visit the places that you care about regularly. You'll find the people that will play major roles in your fate there. They stand out from the common folk. The rest are just a crowd shot, a background, a bunch of extras. As it has always been. Indeed. Still, it's best to avoid hasty judgment. It's a paradox, you see. Don't try to care too much for the lives of these bound to stand out people. And don't be too dismissive of the silent crowd. Both extremes will end in tragedy. Why is that? This world cares for your reputation. A fine and crucial instrument. Your reputation changes the world you see, for it is a mirror, wouldn't you agree? And so a bad reputation can get you in a lot of trouble. For example, need I describe? You've got vivid imagination. Everything changes from mystical aspects to mundane things like the people you need treating you badly. How many enemies you've got, how high the prices rise, how bad your dreams are. Lots of things. A sorry prospect, so how do I maintain my reputation? Really? How is that even a question? Same as anywhere. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not betray. Do not steal, do not covet, do not be an asshole, do not get caught. The rules are the same anywhere. A truly selfless deed, like risking something for thy neighbor, or even a person who lives quite far away, can help in a dire situation. I see. Really? Good for you, then. As for me, I can't see anything in this mask. I have no idea what's going on. Anyway, don't get too worked up about human lives, and don't put too much stock into another's words, mine included. He who trusts everyone is asking to be deceived. Yet who you trust no one is deluded. I know that from experience. I think he has nothing else to say. Yes. And... right, I forgot how slow strafing is in this. Okay. Venerable Bachelor, please be so kind as to linger for a minute. This conversation won't take too much of your time, especially since time stops during dialogues, at least during the important ones. And our dialogue is extremely important. You need to know how to play, after all, don't you? Play? What are you talking about, Masked Man? I'm neither a gambler nor an actor. Of course you aren't. You are a living, breathing man, as is evident from your conditions and statuses. You experience hunger, thirst, and fatigue. You suffer from pain, wounds, and diseases. You're so lifelike. You have to eat, drink, sleep, and rest. And to make mistakes. The latter being the most definite proof of my human nature, wouldn't you agree? If I may, I would like to point out just how important it is to keep an eye on your condition. If you get dizzy or unnaturally sluggish, do have it checked up. Vital processes tend to run faster during emergencies than in everyday life. I knew a person who died of stress, but was diagnosed with starvation. It happens, I can testify to that as a doctor. Need I remind a wise man like you of the fact that hunger is sated with food? Food can be found in shops, and shops can be found in ordinary houses that are marked with specific signs. Sleep, however, is more complicated. People only sleep in beds, and only in private residences around here. I'm sorry, but that's just how our world is. I love this tutorial. It's just... kind of ridiculous in the best way. Yes, the world is unjust. And quite silly, if you forgive me for saying so. Speaking of commerce, different shops sell different items at different prices. Make sure you don't get cheated. People can be quite brazen around here. You can also barter with the folk out in the street. Some things may be nothing more than trinkets to you, but others would be willing to part with their life's blood for them. Blood? Yes, blood. It is not my place to lecture you, but if, following your Hippocratic oath, you ever consider easing someone's pain, feel free to just approach them with a suitable drug. You will see their pain receding before your very eyes. The sick fall asleep when they're close to recovery, don't they? Or when they're close to their ultimate rest. Still, helping the hopeless will grant you a good reputation. You will be seen as a benefactor willing to part with a precious sleeping draught or a painkiller for a simple bystander. Anything else? No, not yet. Show me the way to Simon's house. Turn left now, then walk along the valley. You will see a cathedral and 3 mansions across the bridge square. Simon lives in the one that is closest to the river. Thank you. I think he has nothing more to say to. But yeah, so the actual strangers that Eva was talking about outside are in her backyard. This is the, oh, right, there's a cutscene. Just to make sure you get a good view. Alright, so yeah, it's in her backyard, which, this, standing pool here is where her house, the Stillwater, gets its name. All of the major houses in town have unique names and everything. So, hello, you. What do you want? This ain't your business. What is this creature? An odong, duh! That's what all them cattle breeders look like, crude and unshapely and unfinished, don't you know? Wherever you came from. An intruder, huh? And, so this is actually the combat tutorial. If you make them angry, you have to fight them, and they're probably gonna kill you, because you should never fight fair. Because you're a doctor, not a fighter. Yes, I'm a visitor in this town. Who could have thought it's home to such creatures? And that's, all you can just, all you can say to him, really, unless you want to actually do the fight, which I don't. Also, now and then, up in the top left corner, you'll get items popping up, and those are things you're finding on the ground, just randomly, so you get little bits of money or peanuts or what have you. The worm feels sick, head packed, blood boiling, belly freezing. Let the worm warm up, let him take a rest. Don't touch us, we're dangerous. And so, if you tell him to get lost, you have to fight him, I think. And so your only other option is to be a total jerk. Because Daniel is, in the immortal words of Aspity, a character we'll meet later, a prickly prick. Ugh, that's some stench, you animal. How on earth do you even live like that? So I'm just gonna leave him there, because I happen to know that they're gonna move on their own. And not actually bother Eva any further. So it's the early hours of the morning yet. And so the town is not yet bustling with activity. But uncharacteristically for this big city doctor, I'm just gonna go ahead and start looting garbage right away. Because that's where you get a lot of items to trade with. And most of the townsfolk have little interesting tidbits to pass on. So my heart is crying for my poor children. How are my dearest doing? Is everything alright? Oh, women's share is hard. And so Daniel can respond to that. Would you kindly mend my clothes, my dear? Or man's share is harder. Great. Good job, Daniel. Or patronizingly, everything will be fine. So instead, I'm gonna ask, you've got a curious town here. I never expected to see something like this in such a remote place. Everyone's tired of the endless construction work. We want some quiet. That's pretty relatable too, I must say. Is there a lot of construction going on? Not a lot, but I cannot shrug away the feeling that the world is changing all too quickly. The rulers invite architects from the capital, and they turn everything upside down. It's fun for the children, but a torment to us. You have a very tidy little town. I haven't seen something like this for a long time. Either way, I think the conversation ends there. The young wealthy men, like this fella over here, I think in this game don't have... Yeah, they don't have anything useful to say or do most of the time. Good morals and luck are a great help in managing a small community without resorting to violence. Personal standing can work wonders. I love this. Sorry, I can't help feasting my eyes on your outfit. Who was the mad tailor? Said the man in the snakeskin coat. What do you mean? I like our town. We're all one big family. But sometimes I get the feeling that we're all controlled by an unseen power. Our actions but fiction. It's quite possible. Don't worry about it. I think the guy in the tan jacket up there has nothing in particular to say either. I mean, he's certainly a generic townsperson, but again, sometimes they'll have, interesting tidbits from day to day. Oh hey, it's the polyhedron. Don't worry about it. It's across the river. It's no big deal. So, as Ava suggested, I'm going to go talk to Judge Georgi first. Right, of course, I can't loot any of the containers because he is an important character. Hello, Judge.
Most men only die because they know not how to prevent dying. So the Saburovs have offered patronage to some changeling. Who is she?
So, let's take a look at opinions of him. Yulia Yuricheva has to say, a potent mind to say the least, encyclopedically educated, well-versed in mathematics and physics, has appreciable background in astronomy. With all that, his chosen field of study is decidedly occult, and it is impossible to disregard how successful he is at that. However awkward it may appear at first glance, the quotidian and the numinous often complement each other very well. Then Alexander Saburov, one of the town's other rulers, thinks, Georgi is no successor to Simon. Semblance and appearances doesn't necessarily imply internal likeness. Cain is too deranged to be a good ruler. Were he, say, to rule our country, he would have turned it into some kind of theocracy. So, something to bear in mind. Most venerable doctor, it is with great impatience that we have been expecting you. You need not delve into the minutiae of your business with us, since our family is well acquainted with your scholarly work. We are also quite aware of the difficulties you are experiencing, and well prepared to do our utmost to support you. It hurts me all the more to be the one to inform you that Simon, my consanguineous brother, the creator, keeper, and embodiment of all that surrounds us, has been murdered. I can't believe it. It cannot be. I love that the twist right away is that he's come all the way out here 1,000 miles into the steppe for nothing. My brother was murdered last night under the strangest of circumstances. But for all the mystery surrounding his death, I'd rather eschew the notion that his departure was connected with whoever had visited Simon that evening. The visitor is a man of laudable rectitude and an old friend of our family. There are witnesses to testify that he and Simon did nothing but converse. Has it occurred to you that your brother could have died a natural death? It won't be easy for you to accept it as fact, but this fact is not subject to debate. My brother could under no circumstances have died a natural death. And you are implying that you can prove that? I'd rather not waste our time explaining the entire situation to you, even if it helps me substantiate the claims that you are justified to see as extraordinary. My dear doctor, I cannot imagine what kind of infernal aptitude the killer of Simon Cain must have. But Simon could not have died a natural death, so murder is the only feasible explanation. I do not doubt that your brother could fight death like no other, but there was not and could not be an immortal man. The physiological paradox is obvious, I grant you, and I am not going to try persuading you otherwise. I am not a strong player in the field of academic debate, but I repeat, under no circumstances could my brother die a natural death. Immortality is the greatest secret humanity is forbidden to possess. Still, my brother managed to break the seal that locked it away from everyone else. How? I will tell you who my brother was, and who he has become, if you find his murderer. For now, let me bring up the fact that Simon lived 157 years without being susceptible to any kind of disease. No influenza, no pneumonia, no hemorrhage, no organ failures, or malignant growths have ever plagued him. And of course, this is at a time when influenza was even more deadly than today. Yes, I believe in that. I came here to witness the possibility of such a phenomenon, but immortality? Isidore has done more than he thinks. I have a lingering feeling that time itself is using uncontestable powers to further its own intentions. What do you think? And I'm just gonna respond, I'm no fatalist. Because I'm gonna play Daniel a little bit against character and not have him speechify at every opportunity. It could be that my mind is clouded by sorrow, but I cannot escape the feeling that your arrival was no coincidence. Your choice was made for you, my dear doctor. I mean, that is true. I, the player, did choose him. Let us not blame fate for it. Isidore wrote to you without making us aware. He took a risk that could have displeased our family. Why do you speak the word fate with such disgust? I prefer the word time, in a fatalistic sense of the notion, of course. So Simon wasn't aware I would come? Even though we were uncertain of when you would arrive, my brother was looking forward to meeting you. The tragedy may have been a consequence of the actions he took in preparation for your arrival. Someone has taken a powerful piece from the chessboard, a piece upon which your position here depended. It is doubly regrettable that Simon was playing on your side. So, you presume the queen knew of the blow and sacrificed itself for a pawn? But why? And here we see Daniel is already getting confused and just completely taken in by the Canes, just because Georgi has just gone off on a complete tangent here, basically. To grant you victory over death? Was it not your ultimate aspiration? To help you, Simon seems to have played a very dangerous game with fate itself. He went out of his way to provide you with a body of evidence. If that is indeed so, I feel obliged. Do you want to help us, Doctor? Find the murderer for us. My brother Victor, who is in the wing next door, would share some of his thoughts on the matter. Help us, and the reward will not disappoint you. Indeed, it seems there are too many coincidences. Your brother's murder can just as well be called the murder of Bachelor Dankovsky. I will help you in every way I can. And yeah, some people definitely just will put in a chessboard metaphor any way they can. Absolutely. I'm convinced that if there is anyone at all that can help us solve this puzzle, then it is you. This mission calls for someone as astute and inventive as yourself. If Isidore was an instrument of fate, then Simon's murder is a message that fate intended for you, personally. Do not think that I am inclined to blame you for that. I am not. That would have been strange, to say the least. Oh, I should have asked him the other question. Oh well. He, of course, has more to say, so at some point I'm going to be walking around the town. Which of the locals could help me? Whose words can be trusted? I don't know for how long you will have to remain here, Doctor. You are most welcome to be my guest, even though I won't try to keep you. While you are here, though, and especially since you are trying to find out the truth, it is my duty to offer you a piece of advice. I would be most grateful for it. This remote place has a history of its own. There is not enough time to retell it to you, which is unfortunate, since it is the background of the town that may possibly justify some local conventions that will most likely seem barbaric to an educated person like yourself. What traces did history leave in your society, then? There are 3 truths that rule this town, 3 origins, 3 ideas, if you like. For several generations, these 3 powers have been in conflict with each other. I suspect none of them can exist without the other 2, yet each of them still strives to dominate. Each of them has its own voice, too. I've studied philosophy at the university, and I take it far more seriously than some of my colleagues. However, I fail to see its usefulness at this time. It's not about philosophy at all, Dr. Dankovsky. What I am going to tell you has some direct practical benefit to it. Perhaps my words will even help you survive. Really? I'm all ears then. These voices are the ruling families, the co-owners of the Bull Project, who have been ruling the town for almost 2 centuries. Each one of the truths they represent is screaming at the top of its lungs, and in doing so travesties whatever value it carries. This is too complicated. I don't see what this has to do with your brother's murder. The first voice is the Sabarovs. He just keeps going. The second is the Olgimskis. The third one is us, the Canes. We are the 3 heads of one beast. Each of the clans will offer their own understanding of what is going on. Each of the 3 will use their own voice and the voices of their followers to lie and to distort the truth. We cannot exist otherwise. However, in doing so, we will inadvertently reveal the entirety of the truth to anyone who will listen. So I am surrounded by lies. How exciting! Truth is my only idol. It is only for the truth that I fight. Well, no one will dare lie to your face. I have no doubts everyone will tell you the truth, but they will tell it in such a fashion that this truth will conceal the reality better than any deception would. The only thing I'm asking is that you don't jump to conclusions. Compare different versions. Your extraordinary intelligence will allow you to ascertain the truth. That inspires hope. Furthermore, each of us will try to paint a rather ungainly picture of the other 2. Most likely we will fill you in on the negative sides of each other faction and withhold anything that is good about them. That is inevitable. None of us will stoop to outright slander, so everything that will be said will most likely be true. But this truth will be one-sided and incomplete. Listen carefully to what we say and take it into account. Your words are a pleasant surprise, Judge. The stories of the evil that the Canes have unleashed onto this world are partially true. Do not feel obliged to act in our favor. As you can see, I will stop before nothing to ensure an unbiased investigation. The lack of prejudice I want to instill in you is the one and only reason why I am making a confession like this. I do not want my brother to have died in vain. Here our desires concur, Judge. So yeah, he's just telling you, hey, gamer, pay attention, idiot. Don't just take everybody at face value.
I'm too old. Nothing can harm me anymore.
Oh, one more thing. I'd like to examine your brother's body. We have sent for Isidore Barach's most accomplished apprentice. His name is Stanislav Rubin. Quite a resolute and talented man, this Rubin is. I have great expectations of him. He will bring everything you need, and you will examine the body together. I'm no pathologist, and autopsy is not my specialty, but I could perform a preliminary examination. I'm genuinely sorry, Doctor, but our family traditions were cherished for as long as the family has existed. One of such traditions requests the dead to be left alone for 24 hours. The body is not to be seen or touched by anyone. This period of deferral will be over by tomorrow. A curious tradition. Where does it come from? On several occasions, excessive haste has led to undesirable consequences. The phenomenon that Isidore has invited you here to study, it is in our blood. This physiological trait of our family shows itself from time to time. That is quite intriguing. The examination of the body will not help you in any way. This puzzle has to be solved with your mind. I am not able to, or even allowed, to tell you any more than that. Believe me, I am not trying to conceal any evidence from you. The body is kept in the ice house. It is intact, but focus must not be may not be breached, excuse me. Please take all possible measures to ensure the safety of the body. Finally...
So the Saburovs have offered patronage to some changeling.
Or not finally, there's two more things. How many doctors are there in your town? If we exclude Isidore Burach, Stanislaw Rubin is the only doctor here. He's the most competent of Isidore's apprentices. The rest are good for nothing, as far as I can tell. They're only capable of distorting the knowledge their teacher is trying to pass on to them. Do you trust this Rubin? I would trust Rubin with my life, a competent medic of remarkable courage and laudable integrity. Everything he does is done with appropriate diligence and care. He doesn't like people that much, but he is eager to serve them. Why do you ask? I just wonder what kind of man he is. How do I get to know him? Rubin will come here tonight and get down to examining my brother. You will get acquainted then. All right.
Tell me what you want, and I will tell you who you are.
And that is another Francois Duc de Rochefoucauld quote right there, I believe. I'd like to speak to Isidore Burach first and foremost. Well, that is a reasonable thing to do. Moreover, that is what etiquette demands. After all, it was he that invited you here. However, I don't think he has informed anyone in the Crucible, that is, this house here, of these plans. I hope you don't get me wrong. You are our guest, and we welcome you. Where does Isidore live? Somewhere in Earth. Earth is the name of the lowest part of the town, closest to the abattoir. I haven't been there for several years, and I really don't know these slums all too well, especially since they were rebuilt after the fire. Victor has visited Isidore from time to time, so speak to him. He's in the wing next door. Fine. So yeah, that's, the fire is the excuse for the, way the town is today. 5 years ago or so, the town burned down and was rebuilt, according to the Kane's specifications. That's the cathedral that's been mentioned. It's the polyhedron, don't worry about it. And, so that's also why, as you'll see when we get into actually wandering around the town, the streets are so confusing because a character we'll meet later, Yulia Lyuricheva, is a mathematician into abstruse topographies who was invited here by the Kanes to rebuild the town according to their specifications. This is Victor, the youngest of the Kane brothers. He looks awfully young,
Perhaps
doesn't he?
old Gimsky is setting a trap for this newly arrived haruspect.
But he's definitely the best of the Kanes, in my opinion. Yulia thinks, a new structure of power relationships is being established in the town. Personally, I would have preferred the next triumvirate to be led by Victor. Alas, Victor is utterly loathsome of anything that has to do with fame, authority, or public adoration. See, that's why he's the best. Best of the Kanes, anyway. He has every right to claim the throne, but he will hand it over to his daughter. Just like he did before when his terrifying wife was still with us. She was one of the two paintings in the theater at the start. Andre Stomatin's take. That's the brother of Peter Stomatin. They're two architect brothers. Victor was the only person who could control Nina the Wild. She obeyed Simon and Georgi too, but that was only out of respect for the family's strict morals. And yet Nina followed Victor's word unquestionably, although he never demanded that from her. It's all very mysterious. How did he tame the demon? And why did he allow her complete and unrestricted freedom? So yeah, the late Nina Kana is definitely an important background character. Just call me Bachelor, Dr. Bachelor. Yeah. The famous Dr. Dankovsky. Your arrival is a great honor for us. Victor Kane at your service. Daniel Dankovsky at yours. I foresee that the things that have become ordinary for us will probably make you feel uncomfortable and disturbed. I would like to compensate for that impression. You know, our small community has fallen out of the loop. Time leaves us behind. What do you mean? I mean the traditions. Games that we play with passion will most likely be of no interest to you. The people you meet here may seem eccentric, naive, or even somewhat deranged. Please, take it easy on us. Don't judge us too strictly. I hope we will be able to work in the atmosphere of mutual trust.
It's like something is pulling my strings.
And sometimes the game will just kick you out of the conversation to start a new one for some reason. I'm not terribly sure why it does that. How can I help you? Georgi has told me everything, which is to say he told me very little, but it was enough to astound me. He maintains that you can provide a more detailed account. So you have agreed to help us? I have. May I ask why? The killer's goals seem to align astonishingly well with the goals of those who've been waging war against my work for years. I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have. When was Simon last seen? He sent Isidore home. Then an hour later, he came to this hall to see us. He announced his plans to withdraw to the Focus and receive no one. He told us not to approach the Focus and to fast for a week, partaking of neither meat nor water. Then in the morning, he was found dead. Why no meat or water? Our explanation is that he wanted to be mourned beforehand, as is the custom with the local people. This is very like him. So he knew in advance that he was Actually, what is the Focus? It's hard to explain. It's his study, if you will. An extraordinarily spacious, creative laboratory, almost perfectly sealed off, except for the door that was visible at all times, metaphorically speaking. I don't understand. It's like an equation, or a mirror puzzle. Anyway, the murderer could not have been hiding there. Take my word for it. Well, Simon did get in there somehow. He could perform far more impressive feats. There's a reason why the whole town revered him. Tell me honestly, dear Victor, did Simon exist at all? Bravo, Doctor! There is indeed a spark of genius to you. Alas, yes. Yes, he did. Alas? It's not that I would benefit from his death. Alas, for that would be too simple an explanation. Simon well and truly did exist. That is exactly what's left everyone in disarray. It was so hard for them to accept his existence that the thought of his demise is now driving them mad. You are all his heirs. Wouldn't you all benefit from his death? Didn't the old man rather overstay his welcome in the world? His death is a challenge to our continued existence. We are neither insane nor suicidal. Who do you suspect? Just take a look around. Trust your intuition. Do whatever you like. Speak to whoever you feel the need to. Look for the murderer, Doctor, and you will find them. Keep looking till the last breath. I am sure your rational thinking will help you. All right. Who among the townsfolk can help me with this? My daughter will advise you better there. Her name is Maria. For several days she has been obsessed with some design that is somehow related to your arrival. Yes, don't be surprised. She knew beforehand you were coming. I'll find explanations for everything that's going on here. Eventually. Really? That's good. Anyway, Maria believes that several bound people will play a special role in your fate. Before you leave this place, of course. Perhaps it is them you should ask for help first. First, I'll seek help from my dear colleague, Isidore Barak. Where does he live? I'll show you, but you must be careful. Simon's murderer, whoever they are, could not be an ordinary person. I can't even imagine them even being a person. I fear it could only be fate, wearing the guise of a mysterious monster. I will be careful. So yeah, Isidore lives all the way across town. We're over here, and so across two tributaries of the big river is Isidore's house. Oh, and I am using a mod that shows what kind of shop each shop is on the map. It's just for convenience. I know it's not the intended vanilla experience, but oh well. So there.
I fear that Simon's death is a symbolic event.
And nothing more to say to Victor for now, mercifully. And so let's see. I think there's no new letter, but yeah, no. That was, I think, a quest. Ah, yeah. So that's just Daniel getting his first quest. So, by the way, most quests, if you fail them, a member of the people you're supposed to protect will fall ill or die. With this one quest, if you don't finish it by the end of the day, and each quest is linked to the day you get it on, you will die, and it's game over. So, you know, make sure to finish it, because otherwise, if you've only been doing quick saves, then you are likely to have to start all over.
Oh, Mother. Why can't you be here with us?
So this is Maria's room. Looks like everything's fine here. Also, her dress.
What?
Just come on. So, Andre Stamatin thinks Maria is concealing her true power for the time being, but it has already become apparent that she will stop at nothing when the time comes. Her sheer power will justify any despotism that would spring from it. The brilliance of her talent is going to surpass even Nina's one day. Maria will be grabbing stars by the handful while sipping Earth's magma, and that means there are still things in this world worth living and hoping for. Yeah, Andre is, we'll get to Andre. And then Katerina Sabarova, the morphine-addicted, seer wannabe. Well, it's complicated. Whenever I imagine what this town is going to become when she grows up, I feel nothing but dread. It took all of us to hold Nina the Terrible back. Victoria, me, and even the Canes themselves. Little Victoria will not be able to stand up to Maria all on her own. I will not be staying in this world for much longer, and Victor adores her. So who will harness the Midnight Filly? You resemble an adventurer rather than a doctor. I am an adventurer. I saw you in a dream. Don't flatter yourself. My desires have nothing to do with that. I simply saw you take us all by the throat. What else did you see in that dream? I'll tell you when I think I can trust you. I hope that happens soon.
Great souls are not those who have fewer passions and more virtues than the common, but those only who have greater designs.
I think that's another Rochefoucauld. They quote him a lot in this, apparently, which I found out after playing it for the first time. Now listen carefully. The time for collusions, secrets, and alliances has come. I am going to ask something of you. I am not used to that. I'm used to holding the reins, but you are not harnessed, so it would be unacceptable to address you in this matter. I find solace in the fact that my request will be welcome with you. It fits the style of your venture. And despite what I just said, I'm not an adventurer and my job is no venture. I hope it never becomes one. Yeah, she has fun at parties with quotes like that. Honestly, she probably does get blasted, and everything goes crazy from there. I apologize if my words come across as mangled and silly. I am truly not used to asking, but the nature of my request demands complete and selfless humility. Just imagine me begging and kneeling, and believe me, I do feel that way. No need to kneel. What did you want to talk about? Today's death was the first, but it won't be the last. Simon has opened the score of irreplaceable victims. Soon their number will multiply. I beg you to preserve the lives of several people when the lines of their fortune cross yours. Before any of them dies, there will be a moment when you will be able to intervene. I know that for a fact. How? I had a vision. I'm clairvoyant. I will become the Nocturnal Queen soon, just like my beloved sorceress mother used to be. And I interpret these as just this, so you want me to take care of them, as Daniel just politely changing the subject. We'll see more of this later on. and to turn back the wheel that is about to crush us. Yes, this is my last hope. Perhaps at least you are a master of your fate. Even Simon cannot boast this title now. So you can basically ask her to run away with you to the capital if you do what she wants, which is a little odd. Or compliment her looks. I'm gonna go with I'm only staying here for a day or two anyway. I'm not that good at separating the interweaving lines of life, but my intuition is superb. Stay alert, Bachelor. Watch the condemned extend their hands towards you, begging for your help. Will you deny it to them? They are essential for your victory. Everything happens. That doesn't matter. What was destined to happen will happen. You can be whatever you want to be, but not a coward choosing to hear no evil and run away from reality. I will give you a list of those I know. These people are bound to you. Oh, Danny, and he's always clueless. Also, I love this expression. What in the world is going on here? Are you trying to flirt with me? He has an odd idea of what flirting is. Bound? There is a tight spring of power within each of these people. Each of them can break the routine of human existence and become something greater. They're standing on the verge of their humanity, gazing into the realm where they could serve a different, higher purpose without even knowing it. Moreover, they are bound to make the leap in one way or another. That's why we call them simply the Bound. But how is their fate bound to mine? Did you say my victory depended on them? How? I don't know. I'm not a mistress yet. The future is not as clear to me as I would prefer, but I can feel the present. I can already distinguish a dubious guess from the pulse of the precise knowledge devoid of words and images. These people are bound to you. Your lives are connected. I wouldn't have asked you to take care of them otherwise. So you can just straight up say, you sound delusional. I'm sorry, but your uncle's death has messed with your head. You need to come to your senses. But instead I'm going to say, are you clairvoyant or something? So he's not very good at listening either, since she just said that. Ah, yes, you haven't been told, have you? It didn't even cross my mind that someone may be unaware of my abilities. No one here dares doubt them, for they are evident. Yes, the mistress of every ruling house possesses special abilities. I am learning to see the future and transform the present. And so you can either directly say, forgive me, but I don't believe in this type of phenomenon, or what I again interpret as just deadpan sarcasm. This fact offers your words a different degree of authenticity. Will you comply with my request? Will you save the lives of these people I name to you? Answer me before going back to Ava. How did you know Ava had asked me to come back? I know Ava. She wants to safeguard you from my nocturnal intrigues, doesn't she? Now that might be a little flirtatious. She strives to touch the mysteries of our families, to learn the game we're playing. Well, talk to her. Perhaps you two will manage to uncover some bits and pieces of the Kane's dark conspiracy against humanity. But you haven't given me an answer. What will it be? I will do as you ask, Maria. My honor bids me to, and you'd be better off not giving... God, Daniel. And you'd be better off not giving me cheek. You won't like me when I'm angry. This prickly prick, I swear. So this is the list of the Bound. So Daniel is supposed to care for the Utopian faction. So some of these we've heard about already. The Stomatin brothers, Maria, we've met Ava. We haven't met Mark Immortal yet, but he's important. There's Georgi Kane, there's Victor Kane, so yeah. And you can bring up your list at any time, though it's not often that useful to do so. I forget if she has anything else to say. That dress.
The wait is over. They've always wanted an heir.
We, the Canes, have always been out of touch with mundane reality, but we are driven by love. Yeah, he does have a PhD in snark. You are correct. But we are driven by love. Love can be furious, funny, and blind. There's never a need to make excuses for it, is there? And what exactly did you see in that dream of yours? That one that had to do with me? A truly terrifying battle is ahead of you. If no one has ever told you about your fate, I will be the first. You must know that I admire you in advance. Regardless of the outcome, you will fight a foe that few can defeat. Regardless of the outcome? You will clash with your foe like a dragon slayer, but your weapon will turn against you. Striking at the heart, you will end up with your own flesh torn. Every drop of blood you squeeze out of that heart will turn into a gulp of yours. If your foe escapes you, penetrates you, or saddles you, you will hear malicious laughter in your ears, and my crestfallen weeping. So it's about the murderer. Well, I will make them regret your tears, whoever they are. I think that's everything.
I think I'm having fever heat.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Now I can actually, go out into town. There's a lot of dialogue in this game. It's basically a long series of conversations, and these good fellas have some more to say to me, I guess. The town is small and rather unexceptional, isn't it? But there are all kinds of people here. The simple folk and the more remarkable ones. The former will tell you more than they know. The latter know way more than they're ever going to let out. Keep a close eye on them. Your victory depends on it. And who are these remarkable people? There are 20-something of them, easily distinguished by their lodgings or their presence. They're called many names: the Bound, the Fated, the Adherents, the Gobos Taglur, the Town Circle. Simon preferred their company to any other. Why? Because it is they that will decide the fate of this town. Don't be distracted by the fact that some of them look insignificant or disreputable. They will earn their worth, you just give them time. They're the most important joints of the town. Why are you telling me all this? Each day, one of them will try death by the tooth. Each will put their life at risk, and each one that dies is important. Some of them may take the keys to victory to the grave. Mind that the keys are yours, while the grave is theirs. Others will do the opposite. Don't waste your chance to condemn someone who may get in your way. How do you know what is helpful and what gets in the way? Okay, alright. Dropping you more hints would be cheating. Shutting up now. Allow me to conclude, then. Each bound you say will influence the finale of your adventure. Each of them has their own goals and motives. It may so happen that those who seek a different ending survive, and then, well, you've been warned. Okay, I'll take that into account, and we'll be careful. I think that's everything, yep. And there is something in particular we feel the urge to warn you about. When you speak to the Bound, please choose your words carefully. Do not worry, you'll easily be able to make out what kind of a person is standing before you. An observant man that you are. So use that skill when dealing with the Bound. Some of them are indeed worth insulting, whereas others need to be treated with utmost respect. If I ever engage in conversations with someone, it won't be for personal gain. Each conversation will bring you a small profit, depending on the outcome, of course. Depending on the outcome. Every line you utter will have consequences. News spreads rapidly around here. If you spoil your reputation in one place, you'll have to reap what you have sown in another. Restore your good name in the south, and you'll receive a warmer welcome in the north. They will heed every word you say, and you will be rewarded. Good. And, okay, good. So, yeah. Let's see, do I have any money? I start with some money. There's nothing in particular I really need, but I'm just gonna swing into the clothier here to see if he's got anything I want. I do want some of these. And I'm gonna go ahead and get a cheap piece of cloth before things properly kick off. I don't really need any lantern oil. I don't think I ever found a use for lantern oil in Pathologic 1, to tell you the truth. It has a specific use in the second game, but yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and sell my tourniquet. And I'm gonna keep... So you start off with a couple of narcotics and some crummy immunity boosters, which can come in handy for healing up. They're a way better way to heal up than using bandages and tourniquets. And honestly, it like, I don't know what it is with video games and tourniquets, because like in real life, as I understand it, they are really a desperate last measure when your choice is like when you're like on the verge of risking losing a limb. So I'm gonna just swing into the cemetery over here, because I happen to know that over here in the tomb of I think of Victoria, peasants have left gifts of bread and milk. So I'll just take those. Yeah, this is the tomb of Victoria Olgimskaya, the more beloved of the two former mistresses of the town. So yeah, just a little free food never goes amiss. And picked up an empty bottle earlier, and oh, you know what? I should have saved that tourniquet and sold it on day 2, because they're worth a lot more then. But oh well, it's fine. I'm gonna get more trading for bandages and tourniquets, because there are constantly hungover drunks wandering around town, and they are desperate for water, and will trade you, for some reason, bandits and tourniquets for water. But yeah, this is one of the drunks, a carouser, and I don't think I don't have enough yet to trade with him, so I'm not gonna bother. Oh, how ferocious Mother Nature is, for 'tis her wrath that has to be withstood. Oh, friend, if only I could wet my whistle, I'd gladly give you anything on earth in exchange for a gulp of chilly spring water. Why don't you drink from the river, then? Only dirty, lonely animals, dirty of image, drink from the river. Us proud men deserve to drink spring water. 'Tis brought here in barrels, but they're often empty. I'd get it from there, but I'm out of bottles. I'd drink straight out of a fountain, but I'm gonna faint. The air here's too spicy, I'm barely walking as it is. So the local herbs are in bloom this time of year? They're not blooming, Professor, they're withering and thence producing general languor. People fall dead without sleep like leaves from a branch, all because of the surplus of juices. Or maybe not. I'm not really a science guy. Why don't you shut up then? No, so you're a student. Oh no, I'm but a woeful wretch, Professor. A wretch that had suffered all too much. My condolences. Would that random drunks who wander around in my town talked like poets instead of like drunks. So, where was I going? Oh, right, I'm going to see Isidore across town. So, yeah, at this point in the game, I can't drop in on most people, I think, or at least they won't have much of anything to say to me yet, so I'm not gonna visit, any of the important characters on the way just yet. What? I don't know if this is showing up in stream, but I'm getting a strange visual bug. Okay, well, actually I'm gonna stop into this, pharmacy to see if they happen to sell a cloth mask, because I might be able to get it cheap on day 1. No. Oh well. And, let's see, I think this guy doesn't have... Oh, right, this is tour guide guy, and, he's actually worth talking to, if you're playing through, just to get more background information on the different districts and everything. Yeah, because there's definitely a lot of information in this game. This guy and his artesian well water needs. The town doesn't deserve to survive. Honestly, you're not wrong. To be fair, all of the rivers are poisoned by runoff from the abattoir, but you know, he's definitely a needy sort. How much do they cost? I forget. Okay, so yeah, I think it's 4 for a tourniquet and 5 for a bandage, something like that. Oh. Well, you know what, I'd rather save for a bandage, they're worth more. And, yeah, nothing I need in the center of town right now, I think. I find myself cornering with paranoia, despite the fact it's day one when everything is actually super chill and peaceful. So, that is the house of the Sabarovs, who we're going to meet in a bit. They're an interesting family. But, yeah, so the music changes depending on what district of the town you're in. But, let me... You know what, I'll go food shopping a little bit later, because I do want to make sure to stock up on food, because this is not a blind playthrough, and so these guys can repair your weapons, and my scalpel does need repairing, but I'm not going to bother right now, because I'm not going to fight with it. And, they keep going after the wrong people. What about you, Doc? Can you tell a man-eating Mara when you see her? She's absolutely cruel, and everyone's going mad for her. A man-eating... what? Everyone's looking for a Mara. Well, they say no one believes in her, but everyone's keeping an eye over their shoulder. You know how they paint Mara? There's a girl warming her hands up, with her hair loose, all lithe and nimble. Then she bends back, peeks at you, and bam! Her face is all twigs. Seems like recognizing her is very simple. Ha, hopefully. There was this guy 5 years ago, too, said he'd recognize her easily, too. And she walked by him, or maybe behind him, right to his very house. He closed the door behind him, but she slipped in. And, well, 4 coffins on the front porch. And yesterday, too. What about yesterday? No, come on, I'm an adult man. On the other hand, pigs fly and all, you know. If Simon can live for 200 years, why can't Amara suck his life out, using her twigs as sipping straws? You're a funny man, Pop. But yeah, those old guys, or the factory workers, but they're kind of implied to be old in a lot of the dialogue. Just get confused and ramble on quite a bit about sometimes meaningless stories, but in this case, it's actually a hint about some of what's going on in town right now. And, just to say, people are looking for, a mythical folk creature called, the Shabnakadir, or the Shabnakadir, which is said to take the form of a woman, except that in place of legs, it has but bones. Yeah. But, anyway. Wandering around town, just, I really do love the soundtrack to both of these, but, even the chill soundtrack music is very eerie sometimes. So now I have enough to barter with you. But you don't have anything. Great. Useless. What about you? My gosh. What the flip? Let's see. I forget how to get to Isidore's house. Oh, there it is. Duh. A foul murder occurred here this night. No unauthorized access allowed. Inspecting the crime scene is strictly forbidden until further notice. Is this a bad dream or something? Can someone wake me up, please? Whoever killed our only Doc must surely be looking to get us all killed. Isidore could cure anything. He also knew how to make cuts or incisions, because he was a warden. He knew his lines all right. Like I said, it all makes sense. Whoever killed Simon took Isidore's life too, and this is merely the beginning. What makes you think the two cases are connected? Well, who would have had the heart to attack such men? If you'd asked me yesterday, I'd have told you no one would dare inflict such an ugly wound on this town. But if there is someone, it just has to be that. Someone. Although it looks fishy if you ask me. That thing was no man. That's what I think. Explain yourself. See, this murderous deal is all mysterious. There was a talon stuck in the victim's chest. Go ahead, bend your arm at the elbow, good sir. Yeah, like that, there you go. That's how long it was. It broke off. There was dust on the floor, for the deceased had been a renowned stepwalker, and the dust was all covered in hoofsteps and like traces of a sharp bone, I guess? As if someone was using a walking stick round there. I'm telling you, it's her, the Shabnak Adir, the clay man-eater. Excuse me. Note to self, don't do that voice. Alright, enough of this. Is there a person of simpler mind assigned to work on the case? We've been assigned to this post by Alexander, the head of the Sabarov family. His house is in decline right now, but it's still powerful and very much respected, for it is they that's been responsible for maintaining worldly order and public safety in the town since olden days. Please kindly address your concerns to him. There's their rod. You just take that road up there and get to the Cape. As for me, I'm not authorized to let you in. You should have said so from the start. So yeah, that's the Sabarov's house. And you can actually get information about the houses by hovering over them. The Sabarovs have been living here since the town was founded. Once a mighty and powerful clan, it has only 2 persons now. A governor devoid of any real authority, and his dying wife. So, oh, I forgot to go see Ava. Oh well. This mansion called the Stillwater belongs to a single girl called Ava Yan. An accidental midnight encounter provided me with a lovely companion and temporary lodging. This is where Victor lives, the youngest of the 3 Kane brothers. He can tell me more about Simon's manner of death, the Crucible, the manor of Maria Cana, Victor Kane's daughter, and... yeah, so, anywho. No description coming up. Oh well, it's fine. But, yeah, so, what's all this? And I think that was a, quest rather than a letter, yeah. And this fire over here is something important. And, so immediately the townsfolk have, turned to burning a woman at the stake. Because they think that she's, Shabnak Adir. Oh dear, oh, what have you done? How is it? That was no Shabnak, that was a girl, a living girl! Get lost, never set foot here again. Smells like burning flesh, huh? A mistake then, gotta keep looking. Come on, fellows, let's find her. Haven't combed by the backbone yet. Where's the patrol? Have you murdered them too? But in the fire she is not to burn, for she is made of clay. Wrong, all wrong, hardened she must and fall apart. What have you done, you dimwits? Yeah, it's already too late for her, and they did kill the watch as well. But fortunately for me, that means I can get a pistol and some ammo. Just gonna go ahead and load it, because, again, Daniel is not a fighter, and, so... it is slow going to try and load in combat. And, okay. So, let's see, how am I doing on everything? Okay, so he's actually doing pretty well, all things considered. I don't think there's anything I need... Guys, get a room. Anyway. Don't think there's anything I need over by the abattoir right now. And, yeah, so I'll just swing by Sabarov's and... Oh gosh, it is getting late. So, I don't know how much longer I'm going to go. I may not get to the end of the day this time around, because a lot of the introductory stuff takes a while, as you've seen. And I mean, the whole game's kind of like that anyway, but at least this way, you know, I'm wandering and time is passing, so... Yeah, and so, in case you're wondering, I'm going to go around to talk to Katerina in a moment, but the reason they've got it set up so that, you know, each of the Canes had their own separate entrance to their part of the house, and Alexander and Katerina each have their own part of their house, is that when somebody falls sick, you're not allowed into their house. And so, to prevent you from being locked out of a different character's quests and whatnot, they designed it that way. And there's also a lore reason as well, which is that the Canes have strange ideas about using architecture to change people. And this is Alexander Saburov, the governor.
I will restore the order here, rest assured.
Oh, you will restore it, eh? I forgot that he rolled his R's sometimes. Yulia has a lot to say about people. He's a husband worthy of his wife. Whatever power each one of the ruling houses possesses is predicated upon a kind of dependable amalgamation between the preternatural power wielded by the mistress and the magisterial injunctions issued by the head of the family. However, Katerina is known to be sterile, which leaves Saburov with nothing but brute domineering. As soon as the moment is right, Saburov will attempt to seize absolute administrative power. In so doing, he will compensate himself for the debilitating misery of his spouse. And Stach Rubin, whom we haven't met yet. Alexander is a hero. When fire broke out in the Skinners, he took a pike pole into his own hands to break into burning houses, save people, and put out the fire. That's just how it was. Curiously enough, he kept his incognito back then and emerged from the ordeal unrecognized. Neither did he flaunt his feat later. The truth came out accidentally. That is a very typical situation. Alexander is just that, an everyday hero who demands no credit. It is a very unique kind of heroism. So two very different takes. So, I finally get to meet you, see you. Yes, you really do like a messenger of sorrowful times. In any case, welcome to the Rod. Our meeting is quite significant in a way. Facing the changes with open eyes and taking their first blow is my duty. Do you think we're on the verge of an especially unhappy era? No grim events have clouded our existence since last summer. The country has cured its war wounds. Commercial communications have been repaired. Astrologists expect nothing ill. Do you hold astrologists' opinion in high regard? And, this is another case of, I'm pretty sure Daniel is just smoothly changing the subject, and so I think that's probably the best option. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to, sir? I'm a ruler. Astrology can be very curious, but I cannot allow it to influence my decisions. I have to act according to factual circumstances. Would you agree? Definitely.
This Haruspex is trying to prove his innocence. It's a no-go.
So you've come to meet with Simon, haven't you? What can I do for you now? I was actually invited by Isidore, so I came to meet with him first and foremost, but now it turns out that he's been murdered. Yes, looks like the murderer is always one step ahead of you, doesn't it? The same one that took Simon's life, too. At least that's the conclusion suggested by the information at my disposal. Same pattern, same signature. So, who did it? Sherlock Saburov is great, because he is the world's worst detective. You wouldn't believe it! His own son! The fellow came back after being away for quite a while. His father had sent him to study surgery when he was but a greenhorn. Quite a lot he's learned, huh? A wandering scholar turned evil to the bone. All of that just to grab the inheritance! Wait, so how did you figure that out? In all honesty, it's hard to explain that to an outsider like you. Do you believe in such a thing as clairvoyance, Bachelor? Of course I do. Wink. Well, you should get to know my wife then. Or better yet, those who have already had opportunities to witness the power of her prophecies. Former doubters, first and foremost, rationalists. She's got something to say to you, too, by the way. So you do have rationalists in the town, except for me, that is. There are very few good analysts in our town. Everyone is more or less superstitious here, except for one Yulia Lyricheva, my favorite character, by the way. Perhaps a most level-headed and reasonable person. The only person to remain skeptical about Katerina's talents, too. Without a shadow of a doubt, she has her own picture of events. She always does. What is this, Yulia? An odd way to phrase it, but I get it. She came here with an engineering team when the town was being rebuilt. Did logistics or maybe communications, not sure. They say she's a true expert in her field. Smart, yes, a polymath. Then the team left, but she stayed. She has my respect, but not my fondness. Very well, I'll speak to this Yulia. So she lives just across the river.
No, I can't stand it much longer.
So you've come to... Oh, right. Who are the people guarding Isidore's house? Those are volunteer patrolmen. We usually keep around 20 of them, but I've increased the number recently to 150 or so. Really? Why do you need so many? There's unrest in the termitary, which we'll learn more about later. If I weren't certain that Isidore's been murdered by his son, I would even consider the crime to be politically motivated. Isidore was preparing to take over the kin and become its leader, at least according to the information I have. What is the kin? The steppe people who work in the abattoir, many of the factory workmen. An ignorant, patriarchal pile that hasn't changed much since the Stone Age. They look human enough, but if you look closer, they're just beasts. Believe me when I'm telling you that I'm not snobbish in the slightest, but there's good reason to call them that. I see. I don't think you're aware of the fact that Isidore came to me last night, just after he had returned, and warned me that there were some ominous events ahead of us. I took that as an unofficial warning about his upcoming takeover. So you took measures. Evidently. I've mobilized the patrols. I see what you're implying, Bachelor, but I'm not insane. Engineering Isidore's murder, as a matter of fact, a strong, independent kin under Isidore's rule would have been way more useful to me. Really? Why? It's often best just to get information out of people if you can. It's better to ask questions than make declarative statements much of the time in this game. Because that would weaken the power of the Honorable Vladislav Olgimsky, who's pocketed the economy of the whole town. He'd rather see the Kim as a dumb and speechless herd. Unlike you, I suppose, Alexander, forgetting what you said a moment ago. And come to think of it, well, I'm sure you understand where I'm going with this. And fortunately, the Bachelor can keep up with Alexander. This is precisely what Georgi warned me about. I do. Because there's no need for Alexander to know that.
This Haruspex is trying to...
Okay, so there's nothing more to say to him. I really do like to save a lot in this one, just in case I get to a point where things are broken, because it can be kind of janky, and, yeah. Around the corner is Katerina Saburova's house. And I'm sure that's fine. There's nothing to worry about.
I need morphine.
That's not a bad sign at all. Morphine's great. It's a great painkiller, famously. No side effects at all, whatsoever. So Aspides take on her. A queen turned witch, and that's what you get with dabbling with the spirits of the night. After Nina died, Katerina shamelessly rushed to take the place of the Dark Mistress. The burden of caring for the town was Victoria's, so petty games were still allowed. She got carried away, though. Rumor has it she needs daily morphine injections and welcomes cold-skinned visitors in her alcove at night. Laura's take, and we're going to meet both of these people later on. Katerina took a hard hit and managed to pull through. could survive between Nina's rock and Victoria's hard place? That's how the town worked back then. Upon this rock, Nina was forging it, while Victoria maintained a firm stance to keep it in check. Katerina was the one to ensure the balance was in place. I also admire how much she and Alexander love each other. They could have been the grand kings of old, noble, resolute, and honest. Now is simply the wrong time for them. Laura's a bit of an optimist. The only proper way for a duel to end is with the death of one of the fighters. That's what battles are supposed to be. Any conflict that has two sides inevitably turns into a battle of good and evil. I never liked black and white mentality. I'm not speaking metaphorically or metaphysically. I'm talking about a very particular battle. You are one of the combatants, Bachelor Dankovsky. Do you favor good or evil? You can just say, I favor winning. But that's too vague a question. I cannot be more coherent. Details distort the core essence. They devalue the words. What you're saying is it will be I who is to adjust the details along the way, right?
It's true. The girl has proven that she's a saint, not a killer.
You're a brave man, Bachelor Dankovsky. Why? This fight is very unlikely to end in your favor. Does a clay and bone man-eater leave traces of the kind you've witnessed? It's only a spell, an illusion. They just prefer to see it this way. It makes it easier for them. What man-eater? I'm sorry to break it to you, but you will have to fight to the death. Even if it was a metaphor, the ending is still unambiguous. If you don't find out what happened before nightfall, you will die. How do you know all this? I'm clairvoyant. Thank you for your help. I love it. But, what's the nature of your visions? This should not be your primary concern at the moment. You should concern yourself with the number of minutes you have left, and that number is dwindling. I don't throw predictions around. Others will tell you how often they've come true. Do heed my words. Fine. I think that's everything.
My stomach hurts as if I was filled with straw.
Oh, the torment, I can't bear it. Do you also think Simon Kane's death was unnatural? No, not at all. How could someone who had absorbed all our blood not die? A single man cannot handle that. There are limits to a living being's vitality. There are limits to the world's patience. Absorbed? Simon used to drink human blood? No, Simon transformed our town into a single whole, a living being. He was the heart, and we were the blood running through the town's veins. We radiated his light, and that's why we used to shine so brightly. The bound are actually bound to Simon. What about the limits to the world's patience? What do you mean by that? I cannot elaborate on this. I can only feel it, as if this was a heavenly wrath, the payback for all that he had done. The world couldn't stand it anymore. The world must have made someone its weapon, right? Who's to blame for his death? Even if someone did have something to do with it, is that person worth blaming? Most likely they didn't even realize they were killing someone. Yes, that is how it was. Now I see very clearly. Oh yeah, you're clairvoyant. But no, forgive me, but I must take my leave.
Simon.
Okay. But, oh, still early in the game day yet, so we're definitely not going to get through all of day 1 on this stream. I don't know exactly how much longer I'm gonna go, but, I am pretty tired from a long day. But yeah, that over there is the Broken Heart Pub. We'll be going there more later. For now, I'm gonna drop in to see Yulia, and then perhaps go back to Ava's. That visual bug again. Dang, I don't think I have anything to trade to her. She has a Schmouter, which is a miracle cure. The kids have a lot of cool stuff to say too, so you can find out a lot of stuff. But I love that he greets you with, "Wow, that's startling! What's wrong with you?" Like, jeez, kid. Let's trade. Just look at this thing I got. I think I've got some stuff you might want. Ah, good, he's got bullets. Oh, by the way, kids carry around bullets in this town. It's normal. It's just, that's just how things work. Come on. What's weird about that? I don't need any shotgun bullets yet, but I'm gonna want them later. Much later, but still. We know all about you. So, the Soul and a Halve's got an opportunity to catch their breath. This is good. Now everyone will have time to prepare. Otherwise, we'd have to mourn our boys, and the Halves would be orphans. Without... What Halves? What in the world are you talking about? It's just a catchy name. Notkin says it's because each of them has a familiar, a cat, a dog, a crow, or a grass snake. Half a soul more than a normal person, or a normal animal. I thought the locals believed that a normal person is supposed to have one soul. Isn't soul splitting only reserved to your steppe abominations by the local folklore? Are you nuts? The Shabnak don't have a soul at all. Although, perhaps Notkin has finally done it. He used to make fun of the old legends, taunted the steppe, played spirits. So perhaps the Shabnak came to show him his place. What do they do, these soul and a halves of yours? It's a lifestyle larger than life. If you join the Soul and a Halves, you have to adopt a pet. As you raise it, you change. And then when it's grown, it gets the other way around, and your half begins to take care of you. And so you're always together, bound forever. And what if the animal dies? Kids just practicing those Second Amendment rights that admittedly don't apply here. Yeah, for some reason, kids often carry bullets in this town. They also like trading for sharp objects. It's just a thing. So yes, I'm gonna go around giving sharp objects to children. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know, no half has ever died before. What kind of a soul and a half are you if your familiar can die? They wouldn't take you in the first place. Naturally. But yeah, so that's just introducing you to one of the gangs of children in town. It's the mostly poor orphans. Rifle ammo... Yeah, I'm gonna want that later, but... Actually, you know what? I'm gonna save up for, more pistol ammo right now. And I'm gonna be... I want Grandpa to get better. It's sad without him. Is your Grandpa sick? My Grandpa is dead. Grandpa Simon is sick. No one plays with me now. The grown-ups never let us into their games. Neither do the boys. Grandpa will get better. Now go play. But... let's see. Yeah, she doesn't have anything I want. So, this particular child character sometimes carry a miracle cure. That, in canon, is actually kind of deadly because it's a bunch of pills mashed up together, but we'll get to that later. I don't have enough random crap to trade to her just yet. But, yeah. They are, like, the most important Wandering Towns person because they're the best way to get people cured. Lots of interesting art in this town. I think this is probably concept art for the termitary, the bunkhouse for the workers in the abattoir. So this is Yulia, and Why did I check her cabinet? I know I can't search her cabinet.
My chest seems to be filled with the most subtle folly grows out of the most subtle wisdom.
Foley? Come on. So, Ava thinks, Yulia's a very smart person. I could never match her intelligence. She's quiet and humble and perfect. She also possesses a very unique kind of spiritual austerity and purity. She sets the bar higher for herself than for the rest. Yulia has a very intricate way of thinking. I could never learn to think like she does. And it's pretty heavily implied that Yulia feels unrequited love for Ava. Alas. Laura's take. I find Yulia very nice, but I can't stand the way she thinks. This fatalism of hers is depressing and crushing, and it's appalling to see a mind that bright base its theories upon a false foundation. I believe that any predetermination is an insult to the freedom of choice. I guess it all goes back to the past, when she worked with the Dream Party. We never learned much about the Dream Party. They're, I guess, supposed to be affiliated with the powers that be back in the capital. I seem to have lost any capacity for observation. My mind is out of tune. Things no longer add up. Before, I had no trouble forming a trustworthy tessellation out of the most imperceptible contingencies. Now I simply cannot get my head around it. Could it be that I'm dying? It happens when people are tired. You probably haven't slept for a while, have you? Oh, no. Herba Tvirene is in blossom, I grant you, but then it blooms every year. Every year the steppe is filled with its stupefying vapors. The issue I am having, however, has nothing to do with fatigue or perplexity. It is just that I have lost my ability to make distinctive events coincide. Everyone has... What herb is that? No matter what preternatural traits that the locals ascribe to it. The locals ascribe to it. Twire is all heady aroma, a bunch of superstitions and remarkably little else. It has psychoactive properties after a fashion, but then so does simple wormwood. Visions caused by ingestion of belladonna or Jimson weed are much more fascinating than what Twire has to offer. It's a pity I'm not a botanist.
I'm afraid it's natural. Simon was doomed.
So you've traveled all the way here only to find that both people you wanted to see were brutally murdered. Is this how the story goes? I do hope that your visit is not in any way related to these most unfortunate circumstances. I have to find whoever it is that killed Isidore and Simon, and I wanted to ask for your help. Saburov told me you have a gift for all manner of investigative inquiry. I am certainly no better investigator than you. I never had a chance to search for a murderer before. The best I can offer is to fill in the blanks with whatever mysterious, supernatural entities seem most fitting. Shabnakadir is the simple man's scarecrow. I would have followed a different narrative. What's the word? What's that word? The one you've just said? Because Bachelor doesn't know all this stuff yet, so... Shabnakadir, you mean? The steppe demonology describes it as a kind of golem, belched up by the earth to punish all manner of delinquency. It is shaped as a young woman, but made of clay and exhumed bone matter. An unnerving concept, is it not? I've always suspected that primitive worldviews still exist in the remote corners of our country, but I couldn't imagine they would be so active. I knew you would be exasperated by this discussion. Sacrifices, bovine tails, handfuls of milk teeth in a glass beaker. You may forgive this to children and steppe people, yet having the same notions reiterated by someone surrounded by books on natural history, this must be quite vexing. How would you explain this? The answer is bound to irritate you even more. The tales are true. So you believe all that yourself, too? I do. I hyperbolize a little. It is beyond debate that the Shabnakadir exists. What is dubious, though, is that Bovine tails and milk teeth offer genuine protection from her, which is to say, sympathetic contrivances like this may be of some use to children and people from the steppe, but are explicitly inefficacious for someone like you and me. We are too literate, too deprived of the scripture codified in ancient soil. For crying out loud, Yulia, you're a mystic. Saburov is mocking me. We have no choice but to acknowledge the rules enforced by the steppe. We tried to ignore these rules, to place ourselves into the framework of advanced modernity to no avail. You can call these demons whatever you want. You may refer to the Hair Eater as Time, if this will make you any happier. I'm comfortable with a more juvenile vernacular. It is what I'm used to. You are repeating something that Isidore had once told me almost word for word. By the way, I find his murder far more infuriating than Simon's. Alright, let me suggest then that while he was in the steppe, he saw or learned something that he wanted to report to all three ruling families. In this case, either of the Olgimsky families should have been on his itinerary, especially since Burak was one of their men. Really? Definitely. The Bull Project, from the abattoir to the railway, is controlled by the Olgimsky family. If Isidore's discovery had anything at all to do with the kin, Isidore would have certainly related it to Vlad. So do make sure to pay a visit to the Lump. That's the name of the Olgimsky mansion. Another fitting name, wouldn't you agree? Thank you, Yulia. What would I do without you? So yeah, that's, instructions to go over to the Lump, Big Vlad's house. Which fortunately is near here, but
As the mind endeavors to reach one goal, the heart insensibly drags us towards another.
So, let's see. I doubt I can investigate this on my own. Tell me plain and simple, what do you make of all this? So I've heard. A wisecrack I know says that while you're trying to complete the portrait of the killer is busy painting yours. Hilarious, is it not? The hunter becomes the hunted. However, to put it bluntly, you have become the keynote of this particular plot. The intrigue is so rich it will keep you busy for a week, if not longer than that. What would you do if you were me? If you want my advice, I wouldn't trust what our feudals tell you. The perpetual triangle of influence means that every party concerned will do their best to use your authority to their own benefit. True. I'm not that conceited. Perhaps people of lower standing would not try to use me. It is more likely that people of such standing will be much too scared to cooperate. Given your position, you may want to try your luck with the shadow cabinet of local nobility, the women of influence. They know much more than the simple townsfolk, yet they care much less than the families in power. Who are these lady aristocrats? Lady aristocrats. Such way of saying it will be of relevance strictly within the specific context of values and perceptions, characteristic of a backwoods hole like ours. The catch is that the aristocracy is not defined by birthright here. Rather, the status is granted by the degree of enigmatic fascination that a woman is possessed of. Questionable background, audacity of demeanor, you know, this whole assortment. Do tell me who these affluent ladies are. Laura, Ava, yours truly, and last but not least, Maria. I wouldn't listen to Katerina if I were you. Her morphine habit has turned her into a walking corpse. The others, however, are liable to deceive. You don't like being lied to, do you? I can't stand it. It is better to die than to lie. I see. Perhaps you like being played with, then. Even less so. In this case, Maria seems to be your best bet. She is too arrogant to lie, and too respectful to dare play with you. You should value the affection of someone this proud. But I digress. What is your intended course of action? I need to think, if you please. I will ask more questions if something else crosses my mind, especially since you are one of the lady aristocrats.
The most subtle folly grows out of the most subtle wisdom.
Do you know how a murderer may be found? I don't do killer hunting. I'm a scientist. Incidentally, it is more than possible that the killer is hiding in the house of Anna Angel, a thespian of sorts. Now, here is another woman worthy of attention. In fact, I heard some ghastly man covered in blood was seen entering her house today. How do you know this? The town is a small place, Bachelor. The wind carries rumors with falling leaves. The fallen leaves tell a story. Mixing birds' feathers with emotions. We all know one another so well here that we are sometimes able to hear each other's thoughts. A family trait, if you will. But that being said, I doubt that the man in Anna's house is the real killer. Where does this Anna live? She lives in a mansion that once belonged to a family of exiles whose political views led them to a far-out town like ours. Because of some ill-conceived sense of camaraderie, they were happy to give shelter to a runaway actress as soon as she told them she was persecuted by the powers that be. A few years later, they died. Suspiciously, if you ask me, leaving Willow Mellow, their daughter, in the care of their companion. Willow died soon thereafter. Mysteriously. They all died of natural causes, allegedly, even though Willow was buried in a tightly closed coffin. The body was examined by Isidore Burach, however, and he is not a man who would cover up a crime. Anyway, you would do good to take a look at the house yourself. The mansion is known as the Willows. It stands by the gullet in earth. Anna, huh? Well, I'll get to know her. So yeah, things are rapidly getting complicated as he's been directed to many different houses across town.
I'm afraid it's natural. Simon was doomed.
Could you tell me about Laura? I'd rather not speak on the matter. You will know Laura well enough as soon as you meet her. My relationship with her is complicated. Why is that? They say that Laura is an angel, an epitome of benevolence and compassion. She sees everyone as a friend. She's too eager to help, too happy to oblige. After her father died, she turned the Ravel Mansion into the most hospitable and heartwarming place in town. Long story short, Laura is believed to be the kindest woman of us all. However, that's not true. She's a woman devastated by grief. All the gifts that she is so happy to give away are fundamentally offerings to a dead person. She favors the living with something the dead have no use for. Who is the addressee? Could it be her late father? This is merely a speculation, though. Something I was able to conjecture from what observations I made. So Laura is no angel. Her philanthropy is almost reprehensible. She pities everyone she comes across, for she knows they will all die just like her dearly departed. She sees a corpse in everyone she looks upon. I can't say I appreciate it. But that being said, she will certainly be of great help to you and your inquiry.
It's so lonely here.
Do you like Avion? Very much. It wouldn't be much of a stretch to say I absolutely admire her. Weird. I expected you to have a different opinion of her. She dons the mask of absent-minded promiscuity, but this pose has nothing to do with what she really is. I'd be happy to be friends with her, but she does not understand me, and rightfully so, considering her eminence. I can't believe my ears. Sooner or later, a fervent believer may emerge from within her, dissolving her completely in the object of her adoration, after which she will probably kill herself. But I'd rather talk no more of that. Alright.
It's so lonely here.
Okay, so that's everything Yulia has to say for now. But yeah, I think day one has some of the longest, conversations, for sure. Certainly the introductory ones tend to be the longest. You can't just go out to the steppe, by the way. There's a river in the way. But, okay, from this angle there's no weird light glitch, so... Oh, there it is. What the heck? What is causing that? Anyway. Well, I might as well go show this off. because I'm probably gonna wrap up pretty soon. Yeah, the town just has a stairway to nowhere. And if you climb up it, you know what? I'll do that later. It's a long way around. Ah, good. More rifle ammo. Good, good, good. And let's see, this is probably not the most efficient route to get to Big Vlad's, but also my Laura's on the way since it's right here. So, Laura is unique in that her house is filled with NPCs that you cannot talk to. They are people that she is protecting. And, yeah. So, anyway. She is, I think, also unique, or not quite unique, but almost unique in that she has, yeah, a couple of containers that you can use, which is useful for stashing stuff in the center of town. And if you play your cards right, she'll sometimes give you food.
They say Ripper was caught. Does he really cut people?
So Capella, the daughter of Vlad Olgimsky and Victoria Olgimskaya, her real name is Victoria II, but everybody calls her Capella. She's the kindest person I know. Laura has taught me how to give presents, which is an intricate art in and of itself. The first thing she cares about is other people. The last is Laura Ravel herself. She lives for her friends, and I was also fond of her father. The year before last, he volunteered as 4th Army captain. Yes, I mean, the 4th Army. It's been interesting watching this. I sort of bounced off the game the time I tried to play because I don't feel like I had an idea of how to proceed, but with some sense of purpose. It's a lot more interesting. Yeah, definitely as time goes on and you start to unravel the mysteries, and discover more mysteries, it definitely gets a lot more interesting. The first day is definitely strange and odd, comparatively. Stanislaw Rubin says, after Captain Ravel was shot during the Battle of Karstov Fords, newly orphaned Laura turned her father's house into the shelter, the house that's been built by Olgimsky in exchange for a favor. She is both sensitive and sensible, a rare combination in our neck of the woods. You're the person that came to Maria Cana in a dream. I recognized you straight away. My name is Laura Ravel, and this is the shelter. You are always welcome here. My name is Daniel Dankovsky. Let's be friends now. I prefer being friends with everyone. You always have guests, but your face looks sad. Well, yes, I'm the mistress of this house after all. But that doesn't mean I'm a mistress. Mind you, not with a capital M. I won't ever become one, but I can also serve people to the best of my ability. Who are you talking about? Everyone who sits at this table, see? They're all trying to be mysterious, but in reality every action we take is a mere consequence of a deep wound. Our words are like the drops of blood seeping from it. Sorrow is what opens people up fully. You're a poet. I'm just in a melancholic mood. We are way too used to playing the game of tragic predictions. I'm trying to arrange everything back to order. I'd be happy to help you if I can.
My lips are too dry.
Mine too. I'm gonna take a drink. Excuse me. I know you're a doctor, a wonderful one at that. A celebrity medic. Everyone in our small town knew that a famous doctor was coming here. I'm very glad you really have, because I want you to do a certain good thing. Can I ask a favor of you? Please do. A few years ago, the child death rate went through the roof here. 6 people died in a week. 10 or so came down with serious illnesses. It made us worried, but unfortunately we couldn't find the cause straight away back then. In the end, it turned out that children were dying because of a game. What in the world? What kind of a game kills children? They were playing, what did they call it? Well, it was some kind of a medical game. They were stealing medicine from the adults and making some diabolical mixture out of it. Then they healed each other with it. Back then the game just faded into obscurity, but now I've heard they were contemplating do it again. Someone has already been poisoned. But what can I do? I'm no poisoning specialist. I can do an examination, of course, but... No, it's much simpler. There's a house somewhere in town, either abandoned or just unoccupied. That's where they play hospital. That's where they store their horrible mixtures. Please use your standing and your celebrity name to put an end to this game. Capella, Olgimski's daughter, believes that the house will be unlocked today. I'll do my best, of course. How can I find the house? Capella mentioned it's next to one of the ruins. My friend couldn't hear them properly. Have you seen those stone stairways to heaven? I think you might even be able to see the house you're looking for from Avion's window. But most importantly, it should be unlocked. Do people around here ever leave their doors unlocked? In exceptional cases or emergencies, yes, we do. But generally, houses are supposed to be locked up because they're occupied by several families. People aren't that scared of losing their own belongings, but they care about their neighbors. Now that everyone's so afraid of the man-eater, of course everything's locked. In that case, it won't be too hard to find.
No. A town like this can't give birth to a killer.
And, oh, did I receive a letter earlier? No. Okay, good. Yeah, it's still surprisingly early in day one. I guess I'm just more used to Pathologic 2, where time tends to fly a lot quicker. So I'm gonna go for a little bit longer, I guess, and then probably call it. Oh, I should swing by Anna's probably. Yeah. I forgot how many plot threads there are in day one. Oh, and I always forget about this too. There's a spot here where you can just get stuck on the level geometry. And there's another one by the door to that grocer's. Sadly, I don't really have much to trade right now. Oh. But, yeah, these kids often like to, yeah, this is a child gangster, or an early teen gangster. Ah, good. He's got some painkillers on him. Let's see. Okay, so, yeah, he'll take a straight razor in exchange for some painkillers. You know, just a normal thing. Here, kid, have this straight razor. No big deal. It's fine. I know you're in fights with other child gangs. I am a monster in this game. Okay. So, let's see. Yeah, you don't have anything I need. The yellow immunity boosters are almost useless. I don't think Mark Immortal of the theater is going to have much to say right now, but I'm going to drop in on him because Mark is Mark, and, you know. Oh, no, I can't go in right now. I have to wait until the appointed time. So yeah. Let's see, I think this is the right road. Yeah. having played this through before, you get used to the town's architecture and twisting streets. There actually are landmarks once you get to know it, but yeah, it is definitely very confusing at first. And you know what? Sure. Why not? I will take another painkiller. Alright. Vlad's got a picture of the worms, aka the Odongs. And did I walk right by? Of course I did. Of course he's in this room over here. Okay. But in any of the houses of the... What am I stuck on? In any of the houses of the Bound, you can't sleep in their beds, and he definitely has a big, comfy-looking bed, for sure. Anyway. But, and lots of curtains up over the wall.
Someone
Ready for winter.
will have to be punished for this sin.
Alexander Saburov thinks that Vlad is a cunning and unfriendly man. Dealing with him is tough. I find it odd that he runs the kin so smoothly. Civilized people can't usually find a common tongue with our steppe people. You have to turn into a beast regularly in order to communicate with them. I think they've stricken some sort of secret pact. This piece has to have a hefty price. Then Victor Kane thinks the town prospers thanks to his acumen. He watches over the arteries and has a firm hold over the economy. The abattoir, the factories, the warehouses, the trading processes themselves are completely under his control. Saburov and I have long abandoned our attempts to interfere with his domain. We don't have the slightest idea of the Bull Project's day-to-day life. I wouldn't be surprised to find out one day that Vlad had installed slavery there. Yeah, he is a big, successful businessman. Big Vlad. Bachelor Dankovsky, of course. Who else could be so dapper? I've heard quite a lot about you. Have you taken a look around? Be sure to check the state of the industry around here. We have our own ways. How curious, and what is the current state of your industry? Come now, it's a complicated establishment with 1,000 years of history. A special approach is required to control such a colossus. See where I'm getting at? Emissary. It would be pointless to object. I can see we're not really seeing eye to eye. The project is special, very special. That means common standards do not apply here. That would be very naive. You are probably right. Vlad likes it when you suck up to him.
So my Haruspex is the Ripper? Funny.
Yes, getting everything back on track won't be an easy task. I'd like to inquire about the fate of my colleague, Isidore Burach. About the manner of his death, to be precise. What are you implying? What is this manner you're talking about? Be so kind as to mind your own manners. I had nothing to do with it. Don't they say Isidore was murdered by a steppe demon, a Shabnakadir? There was that thingy, a talon they fished out from the wound. I can take this from kids and weirdos, but you, a respectable negotiant. It's hard for you to believe, isn't it? It's used to be hard for many. Take my boy, for example, a scoffer if I've ever seen one. Now even he believes it's real. He went off his head a bit. You're in the steppe now, esteemed sir. Eastern. Backwards. The dead rise from their graves here. Clay dummies dance and bulls talk. Does he know the steppe well, that son of yours? He rubs elbows with the rabble, the butchers, odonga, shepherds, and gatherers, learns their tongue, collects their legends. He doesn't keep them in check at all. They even dare to come visit him within the premises of the town. If you see a worm creeping through the streets, he's definitely looking for my son. What's wrong with them visiting him within the premises of the town? They're dangerous, they're aggressive, and they hate everyone who isn't a steppe person. They'll jump you and kill you on the spot. They'll tear you up with their teeth and devour your flesh while you're still throwing fists at them. So if they're spotted within the town, countermeasures are taken. I do appreciate that in Pathologic 2, the steppe folk are considerably less hostile, not least because the Haruspex is one of them. So what of your son? Perhaps he could tell me more about this creature. Hold your horses! You want to talk to my blockhead? No, you have nothing to talk about. He's not here. Thankfully. I don't want you two to meet. You heard me? These are tradesmen's words, and I'll stick to them. Feeling a bit out of step, yeah. Yes, undoubtedly.
Yes.
How do you think Simon died? I don't think he was murdered. How could he who craved monocracy not perish? He couldn't, not in this place. Balance requires equilibrium. So what you're saying is Simon's death worked in favor of the local hotshots, huh? And, I think this one is a little more confrontational. I think I'll get more out of him this way. Come now, what I'm saying is when someone takes too much upon themselves, they always end up ground down. That's how life works. Yet they say Simon was the one to bend the circumstances, not the other way around. No one seems to doubt that. Simon has lived a very long life. Very long. He was a worthy man, but the long doesn't mean eternal, does it? No one is to blame for his death. Examine the body. See for yourself. It just happened. Cain won't let me examine the body. Well, that is temporary. A family tradition. He's not lying to you. He truly believes Simon was murdered. Were he to admit that Simon simply died of death, he'd probably go to his last home himself. The shock would be too much for the man. That's strange. Georgi Cain didn't appear sentimental to me.
Fortune turns all things to the advantage of those on whom she smiles.
Isidore came by to see you last night. Don't try to deny it. So what if he did? I'm also aware of what you two have been talking about. All I want to know is why he left us... Actually, what were you two talking about? Business, my curious friend. Purely business. I have no interest in other subjects, and it has nothing to do with you. And with that, I bid you... The door's behind you. The big one. I'll find out the truth anyway. Okay. Oh, Vlad. Both the Vlads are awful in their own way. Big Vlad, at least, wears it openly, let's say. And oh, would you look at that? A worm running through town. I wonder where he could be going. I do need to speak with Capella, but, actually, do you know what? I don't need to follow him. I know where he's going. So, I'm going to talk to Capella right now and save some time. One of the, I think she's the only person in town to have an indoor source of water.
Father, it's hard for us to believe in things that lie outside of our scope.
This poor voice actor, whoever this girl was, did... Anyway. So, Capella. Maria Cana thinks, oh, I admire Capella. Khan and she hold absolute power over the minds of the children. However, my surly brother is indelicate and spiteful, while Capella is smart and gentle. Khan lures them in with the liberty to do whatever they will. Capella does so with love. I'd be glad to see her become the White Mistress. And then her brother, Vlad the Younger, thinks, Capella is to the children what Maria is to us. Wherever she appears, children go crazy, as if they were given an adrenaline shot straight to the heart. The only thing that confuses me is the promises of a new life that she tries to hammer into their heads. She claims to be a priestess, but what gave her the right? Her mother's blood? No. She will not grow to be mistress. Look at all this. If only my dear mother was alive, she'd take the reins of power in her hands. Even father would listen to her. But who is to take care of us now? Not Katerina, that's for sure. The mistress is too exhausted. By the way, can I just say, I really appreciate that they spell reins properly. When they're talking about this kind of reins, it's the kind that you use for frickin' horses. Not ruling. Like, give me a break. I don't understand why people substitute rein as in to rule for reins as in controlling a horse all the time these days. Anyway. Your mother, what was she? You don't know? My mother was Mistress Victoria. I was named after her. If only I'd gotten her power along with her name, no one would be trying to crawl underground out of fear now. People cling to Simon so much because they've forgotten what true protection is like. I do feel like some of the voice actors were woken up from a deep sleep, handed a script and told to read it now. Yeah. for sure. And then some of them I think do a good job. I really like the one who does Katarina, for instance, because she just really sounds drugged out, which is the character. Strung out, that's the... Anyway. Why don't you believe in Katarina's power? Katarina is scared like a child herself, and also I think she's being tricked. Yes, her prophecies come true just like it's always been, but they're becoming more and more noisy. Every word she utters comes across as a metaphor. Too bad I didn't know your mother. Yes, she had waves of warmth and power emanating from her. She held the whole town in her grasp like a giant bird, protecting her fledglings. Not a single demon could invade our little community. I remember those happy times. People like her leave this world earlier than those who live only for themselves.
Father has been avoiding me lately. Strange.
Okay. I would have thought she would have had more to say about the, Schmouder. Okay. So, your main quest is always the most important thing, and you get more and more of it written down as it goes, and it is always told from the perspective of whoever you're playing as. And so, you see the Bachelor getting increasingly frustrated as it goes along. But yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go seek out an angel and then talk to Vlad and Ava. Yeah, that's the factory over there. I don't think I have anything to trade with them. I'm saving my money for the moment because there's a quest that needs it. But I'll be able to get more of it soon. Okay, there it is. But yeah. Honestly, the way that, like, in any other game, you would be able to just, like, jump through these bushes. And you can technically jump in this game, but there are very few situations when it's actually useful. Though, there are a couple where it is invaluable. Hi, Anna. Hi, dead guy. I think she may have stuff I can take, but I could be wrong. I'm probably misremembering. Might be thinking of the second one, too. No, my mistake. Hey, I think it's the invisible cat. There's an invisible cat in town. You can find out about it from the kids, but you can never see it because, you know, it's invisible.
Oh, I could have been a famous singer.
She's the worst. Okay, so Peter Stamonton, the architect, thinks the poor thing has lost her voice. I sympathize with her because she keeps her chin up, and I hate whiners, old boy. I'm thoroughly convinced that she's paying the price for someone else's sin. A haunting visitor eager to rip out her soul is coming after her any day now. At least that's what she thinks. A lesser person wouldn't have managed to endure such torture. Yulia thinks, ever opinionated, Anna affects to be suffering, but her hypocrisy is all too easy to see through. If she was genuinely wanted for her involvement with the February riots or that caravan of kidnappers, she would have been found years ago. She's able to trick her destiny for now, but her luck will run dry soon enough. The Ace of Diamonds caravan has left a ghastly imprint on her, the way it did with everything it was linked to. Yet the nature of the link between the caravan and Anna remains a mystery. Oh, that is really too much. Who the hell are you? Why have you donned this dreadful outfit? You can't see it, but Daniel is wearing a snakeskin coat. He is definitely a big city dandy. That is precisely the question I was going to ask you. My name is Daniil Dankovsky. What is wrong with my outfit? It's snakeskin! Are you a performer? A circus actor? A tamer? Tell me the truth! Calm down. I'm a scientist, a professor, do you understand? I study death. I thought so. I knew someone like that would pay me a visit very soon. How horrible. What's horrible? Everything's horrible. You came to, after me, right? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Shebnek is an evil man-eater made of clay and bones. She's the murderer.
Love the ludonarrative dissonance of a well-known doctor needing to ransack houses and trash. Yeah, for sure. It's pretty ridiculous. And actually, that's something they're actually going to try and address in Pathologic 3. He's not going to be needing to constantly be looting garbage bins and whatnot. So that should be interesting, because it'll be a pretty big departure. So, that man, he's like dead, right? Where did your guest come from? Oh, I was so scared. He barged in here all bloody. I thought he was sent here, but he didn't try to attack me. Oh, just look at those hideous wounds. It's like he was cut with precision to mangle the body as much as possible. Who would do something like this? An experienced surgeon, someone who knows anatomy. His sinews are cut. He was mumbling something to that extent. There's this hunt for Simon Kane's murderer going on, right? Well, they mistook this guy for the culprit, even though he was actually a hunter, not a huntee. It was Simon's murderer that's wounded him so horribly, wasn't it? Why do you think the man himself is not the murderer? But he was going after the murderer. They tried to ambush him at the station, in case he tries to catch a ride away from the town. And you know what? Their assumptions were correct. The guy did indeed come face to face with the murderer there. Here's the result. Okay, makes sense. So, what do we do now? Just don't you call anyone here, okay? Please, I'm begging you. If they find a dead man in my house... that's hard to explain, but I promise I'll do so later, when we have the time. I didn't kill him, I swear, and I couldn't have mutilated him so horrendously. I'm not saying you're guilty at all, whatever gave you the idea. Oh, many people would be more than happy to accredit this blood to my hands. They just need an excuse, a chance to grab me by the arm, and then they'll twist it so hard that I'll even confess. Just help me bury him, will you? I can see a spark of kindness in you. Go to the cemetery. Tell the caretaker there's someone less than living in my house. Who's the caretaker? Since the old caretaker died, another dark story. Anyway, his daughter is the one who's taking care of the cemetery now. Name's Grace. She'll see to this dead man as though he was still alive and kicking. Figuratively, of course. I forget what the rewards for completing the quest each way are, but honestly, Anna is so sketchy. I've thought it over, and here's my decision. I'll tell the Kanes about all this, let them evaluate the situation on their own. You are undoubtedly in the right. It's evident.
Have you met ominous people in circus costumes here?
I think the wind is changing. Why are there so many outsiders in the town? And I'd like to hear your honest opinion. Do you also find Simon Kane's death unnatural? No, not at all. How could someone living on, or perhaps even beyond, the edge of what's humanly possible not die? At least that's what the smart people are saying. Not my ideas. So Simon loved to challenge limits and restrictions, I gather. Indeed, he loved it. He was good at it. You could bury him underground for a couple of days, and he'd be totally fine. He was pierced with iron rods once, too. One of them broke his chest, but Simon didn't die. Tricks like these would have been incredibly popular in a circus. Oh, I miss the man. So you appreciated him as a fellow professional. It just occurred to me that he could have killed himself. Why? I don't know. There's no one else that could have done it. No one, and I mean it. Neither the biggest hater... him and his haters. Nor the most desperate beggar. I mean, in his case, suicide is way more believable conjecture than murder. Are you sure? Nobody is to blame for his death. I honestly believe that Simon was doomed. What he did was too much for a single person to handle. I feel my leg being pulled.
What?
Yeah, she's just constantly trying to deflect, but she's really bad at it because she also craves attention. It's hinted at here, but you learn more later. She was involved with a sketchy traveling circus that, kidnapped and mutilated children, because, yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah. But, she herself was likely originally one of the kidnapped children herself, but grew up to become a part of the circus. By the way, in case it isn't obvious, this is not a spoiler-free playthrough, because I'm just gonna ramble about whatever. Because, apparently, when I'm talking nervously, I, don't really have an off switch between brain and mouth. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna wait for a bandage. They sell for more, so since apparently they're worth the same amount, because I think the bandage has to be five barter points. Anyway, hey, drunk, you got anything for me? Or carouser, excuse me. Dang it! Why do they all have tourniquets today? What gives? That at least is random. Okay, so I think I'm gonna see Vlad the Younger and Ava and then call it. Yeah. Because, it's getting pretty late, and, I have work tomorrow. So, yeah, just a quick jaunt across town, which is not too bad on day one, because everything is peaceful and not filled with deadly clouds of plague. It is always a little eerie when everybody just stops to stare at you. Yeah. And, I keep stopping into shops because today is the cheapest most of these goods are ever going to be. And so I just want to stock up while they are affordable. And they're not going to have any of the, best garments yet, but, do you have anything useful? I really need pistol ammo more than other ammo right now, because come nightfall, the streets get dangerous. Yes! Fortunately, the kids value pistol ammo less than the other ammo, which is very handy. For the beginning of the game especially, because, I sort of interpret it as the others are more interesting looking. Yeah, there's a lot of bartering, by the way. Barter is important. Because that is how you stock up on almost everything. I forget which house it is that has the schmouters, but I think it's one of these around here. The deadly medicine that Laura wanted me to find, because she, you know, for some reason doesn't like kids playing games where people get poisoned. Can't imagine why. What the heck? Which house was it? Is it this one? I forget which one it is. Swear to this quest. Yeah, you really do just have to go around and try all the doors. But yeah, the other reason I didn't follow the worm over here to Vlad the Younger's house is that if he sees you, he tries to kill you. because he's a jerk. So this is Vlad the Younger. He is staying in this horrible shed. Don't worry about the well. I'm sure everything's fine. Never mind that wells aren't allowed in this
Katerina
town.
thinks Claire is a messenger from heaven. Yeah, right.
Oh, Vlad. He is a slimy little snake of a man. Laura Ravel thinks, why does nobody notice how hardworking he is? He works all the time. Everything he does for the family, even if his father won't admit it. Yes, he chose to study the kin instead of the intricacies of economy, and he already knows it way better than his father. He'll grow to be a better manager and a better ruler that would make do without a whip, violence, abuse, victims, and riots. Whereas his father thinks, high stepper! Instead of settling down and helping me manage the industry, he'd rather dabble in the local fairy tales. The loafer's most refined skill is wasting my money. He's rather quick-witted when it comes to business, I'll grant him that. All the more shame on him for casting everything on his father. And to think he took after me. You found me here? Oh well, I'm not surprised. I suppose you're not too surprised by the fact that everyone knows about you either. The rumor of your arrival spread like fire. Why have you come? I've come for some sightseeing. There was a peculiar incident yesterday by the spleen. All of the districts are named after animal parts. The children were playing in the mud as usual, but then suddenly they ran away from the sandbox, and the parents noticed that their hands were smothered in blood. However, none of them were wounded. Neither were any of them surprised. What's the solution to the puzzle? When the worried adults came to the place where the children had been playing, they found nothing unusual there, only sticks and stones. What do you make of it? Your children play peculiar games. Nice to meet a person of skeptical mind. I am Vladislav Olgimsky, the younger one, of course, and you are, of course, Daniel Dankovsky. By the way, whichever playthrough you're in, he acts like he completely agrees with you about your character's basic philosophy. He is just such a slimeball. He just will tell anybody what they want to hear in order to get what he wants out of them. Ugh. He's great. He's terrible. Alright. Nice to meet you.
We promise according to our hopes. We perform according to our fears.
Bachelor, I have news for you that should prove to be of interest. You seem to be looking for the killer, right? I'm listening. I'll have to briefly explain a few things to you. Surprise, surprise. Have you already been told what the termitary is? I would like to hear you describe it. I do like that you have a third option where you don't have to shut him down. You can get his take on it without pretending not to have heard of it. The termitary is a huge bunkhouse where the Bull Project workers live, although living is the wrong term for it. They nest. They're nesting as a commune with a rather simple way of life. It could, without reservation, be called savage. What is the Bull Project? It's the whole industrial system of the town, from the abattoir to the goods station. Would you care to listen as to why I wanted to see you in the first place? Very much so. Please go ahead. Let's get to the point, then. A case of pointless, aimless unrest has occurred in that hive mind's nest. The workers there are prone to lashing out from time to time like beasts frightened by a storm. They rage, they howl, they gnaw at one another, an unsightly image of a mass uprising. And that is exactly what's going on there right now, isn't it? Precisely. And why are you telling me this? Riots occurred in the termitary several times before. The mob goes crazy for a few days, and they calm down just as unexpectedly, all of them at once. The sudden calm is just as void of reason as the unrest that had set them agog previously. Having a certain experience with the kin, we simply block the entrance to the zoo off until the riot defeats itself. What is this kin? The kin is, well, doesn't matter. It's hard to explain. Their whole so-called society, the many-headed biology. Very well, let's get back to the subject. We usually lock them up beforehand. The evidence of an upcoming outbreak of mass lunacy becomes obvious in advance, and the termitary's Father Superior informs us of it. But Father Taichik has recently passed. A curious coincidence, don't you think? Mass anarchy. Anyway, a member of the kin managed to run off into the town while we were busy taking measures. How did he die? How should I know? A disease, most likely. Or an accident or something. That is beside the subject at hand. A disease. Could be flu, or a hernia. I don't know what caused his death, and frankly speaking, I don't care. When one of those ants dies, the rest loot bits and pieces off of him, burying what's left afterwards. Are you asking out of professional curiosity? Sort of. I think you and I can help each other, Doctor. You're looking for the killer, and I'm sure it is a runaway butcher. The title of a half-man suits him very nicely. The Kanes claim that Simon had not been killed by a human hand, don't they? And our family doesn't need unnecessary unrest in the town. This butcher can babble devil knows what. His mind is most likely clouded with insane ideas. So you'd rather he kept mum about what's going on inside. You're correct. They barely know how to speak, but that only makes it worse. Half men, half beasts. If they start preaching, you feel as though you've encountered a doomsayer. I need this butcher to disappear. Hand him over to the Kanes or simply kill him if the beast attacks you. The reward will be hefty. Very well, I'll look into this. Where can I find him? He's most likely being harbored in a suspicious house that's in the crude sprawl. Yes, my father is a man of rather hard-handed disposition, and quick-tempered to boot. If he finds out the crude sprawl is concealing a fugitive, he will make a mess. Pointless brutality serves no one. I'm looking for peace rather than blood, I'm telling you. I thought you treated native people better.
Katerina thinks Clara is a messenger from heaven.
Wait, did I just... Oh no. Frig. See, this is why it's important to save a lot. I'm just gonna rush through that real quick and not dismiss his quest at the end. Because I definitely want to do all the quests on day one, because if I recall, that is a good way to
Katerina thinks Clara is a...
what's the solution to the puzzle? Children play peculiar games. Nice to meet you. Guess I've heard about it. Just have to do with Simon's murder. Rather kept mum. Very well, I'll look for him. I'll do my best to make sure you're right. Show me the house. There we go. That's better. Okay. So, yeah, that's the house of one Aspity, who is a fun character. And who, delightfully, absolutely despises Bachelor Dankovsky from minute one. She likes Artemy, the Harrisbecks, a lot better. The changeling is always odd. So, we'll talk about her when we get to her, which will be a long time for now, if I ever wind up doing this again. But yeah. Oh, right, and okay, so look for the kids with the bad medicine, and then... Which house is it? For goodness sake. Sorry, I can never remember which one it is. That park there... Oh, good, I got a ring. That's good to trade. That park there is a good spot to loot. Always... It has a lot of bins and things. So, and... You shouldn't go too far because it's supposedly visible from one of Avion's windows. What the heck? There aren't that many houses around here. I swear, this quest. Pathologic 2, it costs you stamina to jump, by the way. But in 1, stamina doesn't exist yet, so it's not a problem. More empty bottles to fill with water to give to drunks. Yeah, the economy is I like the economy in this game a lot. It's peculiar, to be sure. But, oh, okay, here we go. Okay, good. And I don't remember, but I think there's some stuff. Yeah, good. They've got some food in here. Yes. That is less money I will need to spend on it right away. So that is good. Because especially starting in day 2, food becomes very, very precious. And, a coin! Hooray! Call it the hangover economy, yeah. You are not wrong. And, oh boy, getting some, oh, actually, I was joking, but I got some good trading goods there. That necklace, people like them. These are the dog heads. They dress up with dog heads to remind themselves that they are still beasts and are yet to become human, they believe. They're utopians who want to transcend their own humanity. Oh man, I told them to escape straight away without tossing a coin. What's wrong with your head? It's personal protective equipment. It reflects valuable thoughts back into my skull so that I don't lose them along the way. It scares people away quite nicely, too. We aren't just hanging here, you know, we're on a combat mission. Well, we were, and then we totally blew it. Really? How so? How are we supposed to find the Schmouters now? Do we seriously need to detain every little kid in the street? What do we barter with them for? And we can't take the Schmouters by force. Bullying is against the rules. Khan would totally bite our heads off for that. Schmouters as in powders? What are you talking about? Ooh, powders, Schmouters. Schmouters are sanative measures. They were invented during the first outbreak. The original ones were made by Catchfly, but they were no good. The disease would pass, but the person would pass away along with it. But then Beaker's brothers made some nice ones. Crowfoot's weren't too shabby, and neither were Flankies. What is the first outbreak? 5 years ago, something really creepy happened in the crude sprawl. People fell sick, one after the other, and rapidly, too. The whole district got infected in 24 hours, house after house. People would burst into sickness like matches burst into flames, and then, like matches, they would burn from the inside. I was a little kid back then, only 6 years old, but I frequented the tower already. By the way, it amuses me that he's already calling it the first outbreak when the second outbreak hasn't happened yet. Sort of like the joke from the Philomena Kunk series, where she just asks asks a historian, it was awfully pessimistic of them to call it World War I, wasn't it? So anyway, and then what? And then nothing. There were no casualties among the children. We were in the tower when it all began. But some kids just had to get out and make themselves busy with the whole outbreak business. Invent Schmouters, for example. And it worked. It all went on for several days and then sort of withered all by itself, but the Schmouters stayed. And where are they? Every single Schmouter that we know of had been snatched away in a safe place here, so that no one would poison themselves, but here we are, no Schmouters. How did it even cross your mind to play Epidemic? I just love how frustrated you can get. Relax, it's only a mask. Nothing to gawp at, really. We put them on for the intimidation factor. I'm not gawping, and I'm completely relaxed. Ooh, beef. Heck yeah. Daniel and the other healers will happily just eat a whole slab of raw beef. Ooh, a flower. Good. I can trade that to the youngest girls for Schmouters. Good. Man, this has been a lucky break. I mean, those might be fixed spawns, I'm not sure, but anyway. Hey, kid. May I inquire as to how you found this place, sir? I'm investigating the murder of Simon Kane. You will answer my questions. Question 1. Who are you? We're just playing here, rehearsing, actually. Also, looking for something? We need it for the game. Nothing special, just some junk. Try again. And try to be honest this time. Yeah, well, it can't be fixed now anyway. Alright, I'll tell you. Who knows, perhaps you'll even be of help. The kids are in danger. We've come here to get schmouters, but somebody has already looted the cache. Maybe it was Capella's doing? She's probably distributed them among her minions, the pagan. I don't understand a thing. How is actually, Capella, tell me about her. Well, Capella is Capella. Even though she's our foe, we still respect her. She's luring kids out of the tower, trying to organize a sect of some kind, and they worship her, like, for real. Well, that's understandable. She's the kind of girl that you could even fall in love with. Too bad she's not on our side. Of the river, that is. Pah! Pride is the downfall of everyone. So what you're saying is she's distributed the schmouters among the kids, right? The little ones are playing Epidemic again. They wanted to get their hands on these damn schmouters so very much. So now we need to catch the kitties, and I mean all the kitties in the town, one by one, and pry the schmouters from their hands. See, the common opinion is that schmouters can cure all kinds of ailments and stuff, but in truth, they're deadly. Also, they can cure the plague, but anyway. Why were they produced in the first place, then? An adult will be severely poisoned, they'll be bedridden for a week or so, and that's it. But it spells doom for little kids. How are children supposed to cure themselves, then? Children? All children should come to our polyhedron, they'll be safe there. Oh, you mean that odd structure next to the crucible? Please don't tell me someone's living in there. The specular tower on the other side of the river. You'll discover as this goes on that practically everybody in town sees it as made of glass. You're the only one who sees it differently. There is no death, no grief, no boredom, and no disease there. That is proven for certain. Only dumbheads leave it voluntarily, if you ask me. You have to be absolutely thick and heartless creature lacking any semblance of imagination to refuse something of the sort. That's some story embroidering, mate. Okay, so this one doesn't have anything different to say. Stop ogling me like I'm an oddity, too. Is this a bandage? What am I looking at? Can I get it? Press the wrong button. Yeah, oh, that was a schmouter. Oh, Flippia. That is great news. Okay, good. Better stash that away back at, Ava's place. Cause, yeah. Oh, that's right, that's the one, only one you find here. Okay, great. Now, here's the thing. The quest tells you you should bring it back to Laura. I'm not going to do that, because Laura wants to destroy it. And, the reward she wants to give me is valuable, but not nearly as valuable as a miracle cure that actually works. So, yeah. Although pragmatism is an often flawed philosophy, in this case, it serves well. It's often a much better philosophy than it is in video games than it is in real life. And, okay. This is another spot where you can get hung up on the geometry, I guess. Oh, also, just across the river here, you wouldn't think you could just, walk up this hill, huh? But you can. That's a pro tip, by the way, because, that is a great way to confuse muggers once they, start roaming the street. They can follow you that way, but they do get confused. And that's what you want. And I think... yeah, see? Told you those guys in the backyard would move on. And so, first of all, I'm going to go upstairs and stash it in my safe storage here, because I have limited inventory space. I'm also going to stash those because I don't need them right now. I'm going to sell that tomorrow, so I'm going to hang on to it for now. I'm probably going to sell the morphine tomorrow, too. And... okay, smoked meat, not... okay. I'm going to put the bread away for now, just because I'm going to be wanting to buy as much food as I can, and so I want inventory space free. And... time was that? Okay, it's 1 p.m. It does frustrate me a bit that both games use military time and there's no option to change it. It is 1300 hours, sir! But yeah. Also, it's so weird coming back to Pathologic 1 and seeing this version of Ava, because she is a very different character in 2.
I had a feeling you would come.
Okay. Yeah. So, tell me, Ava, what are the ruins outside your window? Is it the stairway to heaven? It's on the other side of the guzzle. This ruin is the one that's closer to the theater. It looks better from the second floor, with its also blocked windows, but forget about that. What are these ruins? They look ancient, but the construction is recent. Oh, that's an old dream of the Stomatans. They're architects, you know. They wanted to overcome the force of gravity. These ruins were kind of an attempt to do so. They were built by the Peter Stomatan. Can you imagine? They still live here. Still haven't gone back to the capital. Who are they? I think I've heard the name. Could you please tell me if it's not too long a story? It will take as long as you want it to. Although one can talk about them for hours. Where should I start? They're brilliant architects. They've built something famous in the capital. That 3-storied garden of frozen springs. Does it ring a bell? The Cold Hall? Yeah, the Cold Hall. I haven't seen it, but they say it's unbelievable. And it was they that have built the Polyhedron. Polyhedron is that tower on the other side of the river, right? Yeah, the New Quarter, or the Specular Tower they call it. Do you like it? How does it stand? How is it supported? I have no idea! That's the mystery! Everyone says it's impossible. A crazy building. And... Okay. Could have sworn that I could talk to her about the fugitive at Aspides' place, but maybe I have to do that later. Oh, by the way, I'm sure this painting isn't meaningful at all. This in no way resembles Daniel, so, by which I mean it very closely resembles Daniel. So, you know, that seems like as good a place as any to leave it. Well, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for your patience with, rambling and so forth, which is what this entails. Just, switch the, output there. And, so, yeah, I don't know, this was an interesting experiment. I don't know if it's something I'm gonna do again, but I do love this game, and I do want to share it with people and everything, and I do desperately need distractions in life right now. Yeah. Thanks for coming, and I'll try and give a little more advance notice if I decide to do it again.